Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Yeah. So I welcome all into this discussion on the geography analysis of last 3 years of paper. So as you guys are already aware, we have the results. How many of you are appearing? Any of you are appearing? Good. Okay, good, good. So for whoever is appearing, the deadline to aa gaya. So what is the deadline? Deadline for your mains preparation. So not September 15th. 15th exam hai. Try to keep the deadline much before, so that at least you will have enough time for revision. And for those who are not appearing this time, so deadline I would say is December 31st. Okay. So before that, complete your mains preparation. Okay, so in the last class we had discussed, last session we had discussed about this strategy, how to approach the rest of the time. So complete your mains preparation from now onwards till December, and from January start your prelims preparation in a full-fledged manner. So if your mains preparation goes very well, you'll be very well through the prelims preparation. And for our candidates who are writing mains this time, so this is one of the best way to kickstart your the mains preparation. Starting with the analysis of previous papers to understand how exactly the questions have come and how exactly you have to make the answer, how exactly you have to frame the answers, right? So we'll start from geography. So you have been doing this since last few days. So let me just briefly introduce this geography part. Geography is part of your General Studies paper 1. The heading of the paper is Indian History, Culture, Indian Heritage and Culture, History and Geography of the World and Society. So you can identify the first part is the commonly called as art and culture. Then history of the world. Okay, so history of the world and history of India also, dono aa jayega. Then geography and society. So this is just the part of geography. So before this you will have all the other topics of art and culture, history, and then the world history, post-independence, and even society. And in the case of geography, we have 3 parts, 3 topics, as given in the syllabus. The first topic, which is the core of geography, we can say, is the salient features of the world's physical geography. So this includes the topics of the core geography, like geomorphology, climatology, oceanography, biogeography. and also the physical geography of India. So that is what is the salient features of world's physical geography. Even though Indian physical geography is not specifically mentioned, so it is assumed to be part of the world physical geography, and questions specifically come on Indian physical geography also. So you have to thoroughly prepare on that. This is first topic. The second topic is distribution of key natural resources across the world, including South Asia and Indian subcontinent. Okay, so this is about the natural resources. So these natural resources include the water resources, the natural vegetation, mineral resources, energy resources, okay? So, and all the other resources which you can include under this. So there will be usually 1 or 2 questions related to energy. We will see that. Okay, there has been a question on the wind energy, then solar energy. These are resources mein hi aayega. Okay, water resources include the oceanic resources, the freshwater resources, and the issues associated with the freshwater resources. All of this, you will find 1 or 2 questions related to the water bodies, the urban water bodies, the river bodies. That is all from the water resources, which is part of natural resources. And the second part of this, the factors responsible for the location of primary, secondary and tertiary sector industries. So this, let's call it as economic activities. This is related to naturally available resources. This is how we are going to make use of these natural resources in terms of economic activities, which includes the primary, secondary, tertiary and quaternary. Okay, primary is agriculture, mining, fishing. All these activities come under primary, and all the issues associated with that, that is all primary. Secondary is manufacturing, manufacturing industries. So manufacturing industries के ऊपर भी questions ज़्यादा है. That is secondary. Tertiary, tertiary, quaternary, transportation, communication, satellite network, okay, roads, highways, waterways, railways, all of this comes under tertiary, quaternary. Okay? So all these activities, you will definitely see questions. Okay, I will show. So all of these come under these economic activities. Okay, so this is physical geography, natural resources and economic activities. And this in the context of both India as well as the world. Okay, India bhi diya hai, ye dekho Indian subcontinent, India. In the context of both Indian as well as the world you have to study. And the fourth one you can see, the important geophysical phenomena such as earthquakes, tsunami, volcanic activity, cyclone, etc. And the geographical features and their locational changes in critical geographical features and in flora and fauna and effects of such changes. So what exactly is this topic? So let's call it as geophysical phenomena. Okay? So this includes all the changes which we are observing in the recent times. Right? However, this is part of the physical geography itself. This is not something which you will study separately. है ना? Geography में तो ऐसा नहीं है कि you will have certain topics related to geophysical phenomena. इसको अलग से पढ़ो. नहीं. This is part of physical geography itself. This is what we study under physical geography, geomorphology, climatology. देखो earthquakes, tsunami, volcanic activity, geomorphology, cyclones, and the changes, global climatic changes, melting of ice caps, water bodies, climatology में आ जाएगा, oceanography में आ जाएगा. फिर इसको अलग से क्यों दिया है? Why it has been specifically mentioned? Because they are currently relevant, and UPSC is giving a hint that you prepare this thoroughly. I'll ask you more detailed questions. So a very clear hint, right? All these are the areas which are seeing changes in the current times. They are currently relevant, right? These are all the geographical phenomena. At the same time, they are more application oriented than the other aspects of geography. Okay, they are more related to the real world events, and most importantly, you are going to handle all of these events in the future once you are part of the district disaster management authority, right? So you have to be more aware about this. तो इसलिए अलग सा दिया है. However, this is part of the physical geography itself. For the sake of analysis, I have kept it separately. I will also show the question separately. Okay, तो मैं इसका weightage क्या है वो भी दिखा दूंगा, आपको समझ आ जाएगा. It is very clear that this part has a very high weightage, and whatever you study as part of NCRTs in other parts, this is not sufficient. NCRT is not sufficient here. You have to study in more detailed manner. There have been few questions in every year, 1 or 2 questions will be there which goes beyond NCERT, and that will definitely from this part only. You have to read more carefully, more thoroughly here. This is our mains geography syllabus. Okay, 4 parts we have identified. Physical geography, okay, let's keep it as the second part. Geophysical phenomena, which is part of physical geography only. Third part is natural resources, and fourth part is economic activity. So I'll show you the overall weightage and analysis for the last 10 years, and we will be discussing the last 3 years. This is the number of questions which have come in geography in paper 1 in last 10 years, from 2013 to 2022. Initially there was some variation, like you can see 70, 100, 75, 100. फिर एक बार आके settle हो गया. Consistently in the last 5-6 years we are getting a minimum of 100 marks out of 250. Okay, that is 8 to 9 questions. 8 to 9 questions in paper 1 is from geography only. This is the highest weightage in paper 1. Compared to any sections, this is the highest weightage. And compared to all the other sections of general studies, still it is the highest weightage. Okay, so I agree polity also carries almost equal weightage, but polity or geography may, if you compare, geography becomes more scoring because it is slightly static in nature. Polity becomes slightly current related, analytical. Okay, question समझने में time आ जाएगा, तो इसमें तो direct है, easy है, it is more scoring, तो returns are higher. ठीक है, so it carries a very good amount of weightage. And prelims, people were complaining prelims में तो geography questions कम आते हैं, अभी तो आ गए इस साल 22 questions are there geography. One of the largest section of general studies, you cannot ignore this. So weightage तो ठीक है. This is weightage in terms of marks. So it is very clear that we cannot ignore geography. So I told you there are 4 sections. Okay, I have divided the number of questions in the last 10 years. There are total of 83 questions in general studies. Paper 1 only. So और कोई paper में आता है geography? Do you have any other papers where you see geography questions? Paper 3, for example. Disaster management, ठीक है. Internal security, good. Yes, economics में आएगा, agriculture में आएगा. We have properly defined agriculture topic तो है ही. Agriculture related question paper में नहीं, paper 1 में नहीं आता है. It will not come in paper 1, it is paper 3. That is totally from geography. And infrastructure related also. Fine. So in paper 1, we identified 4 units. The physical geography, geophysical phenomena, natural resources, economic activity. In the last 10 years, 83 questions. On an average, 8 to 9 questions. Okay? And these are number of questions. And this pie chart shows that physical geography accounts for 15% of all the questions. But geophysical phenomena accounts for 37% of all the questions. Geophysical phenomena, I agree, this is part of physical geography only. For our understanding, I have separated this. It is that topic जो last slide में मैंने दिखाया था ना. So cyclones, volcanic eruption, earthquake, tsunami. Compared to the entire other part of physical geography, this carries a huge weightage. These topics have been highlighted by UPSC. सबसे ज़्यादा questions इसी के अंदर आए हैं. Compared to the entire part of geography, this carries the highest weightage. Syllabus में दिया है, लोग syllabus ज़्यादा देखते नहीं हैं. Right? And physical geography, the other parts of physical geography which is not coming under this, that carries 15%. So together it carries nearly 55% of the entire weightage. 55% of the entire number of questions which have been asked till now is physical geography only. 45% of the questions are from the economic geography. Economic activities, natural resources, we can consider it to be equal. Okay? And this I am not segregating as per India as well as world. Economic geography, most of the questions are related to India only. Okay? So most of the questions are related to India only. Here comes the world physical geography. So that is by section. This is number of questions by nature. So nature, for the sake of simplicity, I have classified all the questions into 4 categories. The first type of question is static plus basic. What do you mean by that? These are the questions of geography which are directly from the textbook, conventional part of geography. Okay, so what do you mean by ocean currents? What is the influence of ocean current? ये तो हम directly पढ़ते हैं, class में पढ़ते हैं. Okay, these are the conventional part of geography. You study geography, you will know about this. That is what is static. Other than static, we have current affairs, current related topics. What do you mean by basic? We have basic and applied. Basic means whatever you have studied, you will just write it. What do you mean by ocean currents? What are the factors affecting ocean currents? What is the influence of ocean current? This is you will study as it is in the textbook. You will study as it is, direct hai. So basic plus applied. This is not as it is in the textbook, as it is in your notes. Whatever you have studied from your notes, you will apply to make an answer then and there. You will prepare an answer then and there. There is no standard answer here. For example, so there was a question. The impact of humanizing landscape on Indian monsoon. Okay? So we know that the monsoon is changing its behavior at the local levels. Now the question is about what is the impact of humanizing landscape on this. ठीक है? तो आंसर छोड़ो. इसका आंसर तो आपको कोई टेक्स्ट बुक में नहीं मिलेगा, नोट्स में नहीं मिलेगा. You have studied about monsoon, you have studied about its behavior. Now you know what you mean by humanizing landscape. Based on this, you have to write an answer by yourself. That is what is static, because it is talking about the monsoon only, but applied. The third type of question is static plus current affairs. It's a mix of both. It's a mix of both. So few years before there was a question about Juno mission. Juno mission पता है? It's a mission of NASA to study Jupiter. So what is Juno mission? How Juno mission is helpful in understanding the Earth's interior or Earth's origin. So you would have studied about the Earth's origin in the geomorphology chapter. Okay, how exactly Earth originated, what are the theories regarding that. Now you have to write about Juno mission and link it with the Earth's origin. So this is mix of both static as well as current affairs. Another type is totally current affairs. Okay, for example, few years before there was a question on IRNSS, Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, IRNSS, totally current affairs. You will not study this as part of geography, you would have studied as part of science and technology or current affairs. Direct question, but in the context of geography, what are the implications, how it will be helpful in navigation, how it will be helpful in resource mapping. Okay, that you have to write here. So there are basically 4 types of questions. Dekho, same total, 83 questions in the last 10 years. If you segregate these questions as per these 4 types, one thing you can clearly understand, 36% of the questions are static and basic, 37% of the questions are static and applied. Matlab, nearly 75% of the questions are totally static in nature. There is not much current affairs here. Topics, the question topic is not related to current affairs, but you have to bring current affairs in the answer. वो अलग बात है. You have to bring current affairs in your answer, but the question is not directly from current affairs. It is something which you have studied clearly as part of your subject. Geography, if you study thoroughly, 75% of the questions are clearly there. So what is the implication of this? It makes the subject easier and scoring. Clearly आपको पता है कहाँ से क्वेश्चन आने वाला है, तो ठीक से ज्योग्राफी पढ़ो तो आंसर कर सकते हो. And there is some smaller role of current affairs here. Okay, nearly 20% of the questions are both static as well as mix of current affairs, and very few questions are directly current affairs. Only 6% of the questions in the entire geography in the last 10 years, okay, that is only 5 questions are there which are totally current affairs. IRNSS का जो example दिया था, that is one among them. There are very few questions. Otherwise, it is totally static in nature. You study geography thoroughly, you can score very well. ठीक है? And in that you can see, so 36% is static and basic, 37% is static and applied. So that makes geography easily approachable. Talking about the way questions have been raised, the language of the questions, Unlike the other sections of the other papers. Okay, so for example, even in paper 1 also society hai, paper 2 polity, governance, social justice. Most of the times these questions are indirect. They give a very big statement. In the end, they will add few keywords. They will ask you to critically analyze, critically discuss. इसके बारे में बताओ. ये सब चीजें करना पड़ता है. That is indirect way of asking questions. If you see the geography questions, you can clearly understand there is no indirect questions. There are few indirect questions, but other than that, most of the questions are direct in language. You don't have to make too much of effort in understanding the demand of the question. It is very clearly in front of you. Right? Most of the questions are direct in nature. And पहले बात था static है, approachable है. You study thoroughly, you will be able to answer this. Second is the language, it is direct. And the third important observation which you can make from the last, okay, there are a total of 83 questions. Many of the questions are repeat. The questions as it is भी repeat हुआ है. I'll show. In the last 3 years जो questions है उसमें भी बहुत सारे questions है repeat हुआ है. As it is, topic as it is है, answer भी as it is होगा, थोड़ा सा अलग direction में दिया है बस. ठीक है? As it is repeat होने का ठीक है, मान लो कम है. There are few questions which have repeated as it is, but the topics have usually repeated. The topics: urban floods, mountain formations. ठीक है? Water resources. हर साल water resource के ऊपर एक question होता ही है. That makes our job much more easier. Very scoring. ठीक है? So if you thoroughly analyze these previous years question, so you will get to know the central idea, कहाँ पर concentrate करना है, कहाँ पर कैसे answer लिखना है, ये सब चीज़ें पता चल जाएगा. So that is the overall idea of this session. And what is the role of current affairs? I told you current affairs का questions कम हैं, but उसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आप current पूरा isolated होके पूरा static पढ़ोगे. Even if the current related topic has not been asked, you have to bring current affairs in your answer. That is must. वो तो common है in all the papers of general studies. ठीक है? And many of these, particularly ये जो question है, ये जो topic है, कौन सा? Geophysical phenomena. The questions related to geophysical phenomena, most of them are currently relatable. Even if the question is direct and static type, you have to bring current affairs here. Then only it will add value to your answer. And these are some of the sources. Okay, so I would say basic sources. So it all depends upon your personal choice also. From my observation, if you study thoroughly this, you can cover most of the geography questions for sure. There are 4 NCRTs, 11th standard 2 NCRTs, 12th standard 2 NCRT. 11th standard first one, fundamentals of physical geography. 11th standard second one, India physical environment. 12th standard first one, fundamentals of human geography. 12th standard second one, India people and economy. These two will cover the physical geography of world and India. These two will cover the economic and human geography of world and India. The problem is these two are not very well updated. Okay, so as per the requirement of UPSC General Studies Paper 1. So for this, I recommend an alternative. Okay, so this is ICSE syllabus, 10th standard total geography. The name of the book is Total Geography. This is specifically for Indian geography. Okay, this is for Indian geography only. In this, I would recommend reading the economic part alone. This book covers both physical as well as economic geography of India. So just read the economic geography alone. This includes the chapters of agriculture, resources, industries. Okay, ये पूरा cover करता है in a crisp manner. It is not that detailed. You can cover this. ठीक है? So this will be something in addition to what you study here because this is not very well updated. In addition to this, we have the most famous G.C. Leong Certificate Physical and Human Geography, Gocheng Leong. So this is, I would say, whether you are going to read other chapters or not, so please read the chapters on climatology. Okay, chapter number 13, 14 to 15 and then 25, 15 to 25. सारा chapters 13 से शुरू करके आप पढ़ सकते हो. And of course, this is for those who are preparing for next year. This year, I would not recommend you to sit and read this. Okay, so don't worry about that. Whatever you have studied, you can rely on that. And there is another book, the most famous Savinder Singh, Physical Geography. This is just for reference. It is not compulsory, particularly for general studies. Okay, so just for reference, out of interest and curiosity, if you want to read more, you can read more, because few of the topics related to that geophysical phenomena, okay, so earthquakes, volcanism, tsunami, cyclones, in NCERT is not sufficient depth. Okay, so सब NCERT तो काफ़ी नहीं है. Here you can refer to the selective topics. Selective topics you can read. In addition to that, current affairs is must. Okay, whatever you read from daily newspaper or monthly magazine, for example, Vision IAS current affairs monthly magazine, and a few of the topics related to Yojana. Yojana will be helpful for your economic geography of India. ठीक है, योजना topics related to agriculture, the primary activities related जो भी आता है ना, that will be very helpful for you. And few of the topics of down to earth magazine का कुछ topics भी आते हैं. Down to earth also has a YouTube channel, you can refer to that. They make short videos on the current issues related to environment and geography, so you can refer to that. So that will be helpful for current related topics as well as our geophysical phenomena. Okay, geophysical phenomena वाला topic है. So for example, there is a delay in the monsoon. What are the factors affecting delay in the monsoon? ठीक है, all of this you can see this. So if you cover this much source, I think you can easily handle the questions in geography, and what you need other than this is the answer writing practice. These are some of the key aspects of answer writing practice in geography. How geography answer writing is different from other subjects answer writing. It is very much important that you analyze the previous papers. Few of the observations I told you, few more things you will observe, and most importantly you will get to know what are the repeat topics जिसके ऊपर बार बार questions आ रहे. अगर वहाँ पर thoroughly prepare हो गया, if you are lucky, so you will get the same topic again. ठीक है? So it will be very very helpful. Whether it is going to be helpful in other subjects or not, in geography पक्का तो helpful रहेगा. The previous papers. And second observation I told you, most of the questions are simple and direct. ठीक है, and it doesn't expect you to write in a very complex language, है ना, पूरा analytical में नहीं करना है. You can keep your answers simple and direct. Okay, so you can directly come to the point. Maps and figures are must. There is no alternative to this, and in other subjects you may skip the maps and figures. You will not be penalized for that, but in geography if you don't write map and figures you will be penalized for this. दूसरी सब्जेक्ट्स में मैप्स एंड फिगर्स लिखने से एक्स्ट्रा मार्क मिल सकते हैं, जियोग्राफी में ना लिखने से मार्क्स डिडक्ट होगा. इट इज एक्सपेक्टेड इन योर आंसर्स. It is expected in your answers. Wherever there is a scope, map should be there, figure should be there. Now maps, both India map as well as world map. Please practice some world maps. जो भी इस बार लिख रहे हो थोड़ा बहुत basic practice कर लेना. Wherever there is scope, just add a simple world map. World map का मतलब ये नहीं कि आपको पूरा पेज लिखना है. एक छोटा सा एक कॉर्नर में भी लिख दिया तो भी काफ़ी है. The rough idea would be sufficient. Okay, in a simple box, you just draw a world map and show some distribution, okay, some factors, जो भी है, जो भी applicable होगा. But please ensure that it is related to the question. Unnecessarily नहीं लिखना है. World map नहीं है तो figure तो लिख ही सकते हो. Any question of geography, you can add a figure over there. Small figures. It will definitely add value to your answer. Okay, so every answer at least one figure or one map should be there. ये तो पक्का हो सकता है. Examples and facts, it should be there always in your answers, without which the geography becomes very theoretical, and geography is not a theoretical subject, it is most practical subject. The questions always expect you to give more examples and more facts. आप जितना examples and facts दोगे उतना आपका answer अच्छा रहेगा. That is what is expected in the answer. ठीक है? And while talking about the different issues or problems or suggestions, particularly this will be helpful in your economic geography. Economic geography, physical geography, the major difference is physical geography is more of static in nature, and जहाँ पर जो जितना पढ़ के आए हो उतना ही लिखना है. Economic geography, you have a scope to diversify your answer. You can bring all the different angles, okay, different issues. For example, water issue. Okay, the urban floods. What are the reasons behind urban floods? There is no fixed answer here. You can bring all the different angles. The political aspect, the historical aspect, है ना, the economic aspect, the cultural aspect, बहुत सारी चीज़ें लिख सकते हैं. जितना आप diversify करके लिखोगे उतना अच्छा रहेगा. What about introduction? You don't have to write elaborate complete introduction, half page introduction in geography. Keep it short and crisp because the questions are itself are direct. You don't have to write too elaborate introduction. Keep it direct, simple and direct. What about conclusion? Okay, so conclusion is required in most of the questions except if the question is too direct. If the question is too direct and it is not asking any of your opinion, no analysis, nothing is required, you don't have to write a conclusion here. Okay? Suppose, what are the evidences suggested by Alfred Wegener to prove the continental drift theory? List the evidences suggested by Alfred Wegener to prove the continental drift theory. यहाँ पर कोई opinion का scope है ही नहीं है. What he said, you have to write it here. Okay, there are 5-6 evidences. We just write that. No need of another conclusion. Unnecessarily यहाँ पर add करने का ज़रूरी नहीं है. In the same place, if at all the question is critically analyze the theory of continental drift, you have to give a conclusion. Where did it go wrong? What was the major lacuna? How it will be corrected by the further theories, plate tectonics theory. Conclusion is required over there. Few of the questions it is not required. Don't worry too much over there. In geography you can write both point wise as well as paragraph, but in some areas point wise will give more marks because it will give more dimensions, particularly economic geography. Okay, economic geography may you need to bring as many different dimensions as possible, different arguments as possible. So try to use point forms over there. Otherwise, in between you can always use paragraph. Introduction should be there in paragraph. Conclusion should be there in paragraph. Connecting area should be there in paragraph. Okay? So this is about answer writing in geography. So any doubts? Anything you want to ask? In general, related to geography. Shall we start the discussion on the questions? So, questions, we have a total of 25 questions in 3 years. Okay? So we'll not be going into detail answers of each and everything. So we'll stick to the major approach. Approach क्या होना चाहिए? इसमें brief content क्या क्या लिख सकते हैं? Okay, we'll start from the 2020 questions, year wise. Discuss the geophysical characteristics of circum-Pacific zone. You can see the question is pretty direct. है ना? There is not much of analysis. यहाँ पर तो कोई complex language नहीं use हुआ है. It is simple and direct. What about the topic? Is it static or current related? Static. Is it direct or applied? Basic or applied? Basic. Totally from your textbook. NCERT 11th standard fundamentals of physical geography, you have studied this, you can write it from there. You don't need any other source here. As soon as you read the question, try to think immediately, you please identify whether there is a scope for map or figure here. Is there a scope for map or figure here? Yes. You can draw a map of Pacific region. World map, always remember, you don't have to draw the entire world map. You can just draw that part which you are going to describe. Here the Pacific region, you can just draw this much. On this side the Asia and Australia, on the other side North America and South America. You don't have to complete the other part also. If you just show the boundary on this side, that is also sufficient. Okay, practice this. This will be useful. The Pacific Ocean का जो map है, this will be useful even in your oceanography if the question comes on El Nino. So this year is El Nino, we can expect a question on El Nino. As well as on monsoon. There is the impact of El Nino on monsoon already आ गया, delay हो गया, 8 days का delay था. ठीक है? So and also the correlation of monsoon with cyclone. एक cyclone अभी भी चल रहा है. कौन सा cyclone है? Biparjoy. है ना? So it is said that the existence of a cyclone is also responsible for slight delay. ठीक है, तो ये सब मैप्स बहुत इजीली यूज कर सकते हैं. ज्योग्राफी में ये तो दिमाग में रख दो, जैसे क्वेश्चन पढ़ोगे मैप का स्कोप है इमीडिएटली, मतलब एक एक्स्ट्रा मार्क मिल गया वहीं पे. ठीक है. सो दिस इज स्टैटिक, दिस इज बेसिक, टोटली डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन एंड टोटली स्कोरिंग. सो व्हाट यू हैव टू डू इज जस्ट आइडेंटिफाई द डिफरेंट पार्ट्स एंड directly give you your answer. That is what I am expecting. I don't need any beating around the bush here. So what will you write the introduction? What is the introduction here? Circum-Pacific zone. Introduce your answer with what is Circum-Pacific zone? What is Circum-Pacific zone? It is a zone around the Pacific Ocean which is surrounded by trenches towards the west, east as well as north. However, there is a system of ridge towards the south. That is why this is also called as the Pacific Ring of Fire. Even though this is not a complete ring, this is horseshoe shape, still it is called as Pacific Ring of Fire, because the zone of trenches are always associated with volcanic eruptions and earthquakes. Okay, you define this zone, kahan par hai. On this side we have the Asian continent and Oceania, on this side we have the North America as well as South America, and towards the south we have the Southern Ocean. Now discuss the geophysical characteristics of Circum-Pacific zone. The second part will be geophysical characteristics. So बताइए, what are the geophysical characteristics? Start with the different types of plate boundaries only. That is the major reason behind this entire way the Circum-Pacific belt is there. On the western side we have the ocean convergent plate boundary. Okay, give examples. Examples are very much required. The Pacific plate is subducting below the Oceania, okay, so Indo-Australian plate as well as the Eurasian plate. Okay, here it is Indo-Australian plate, here it is Eurasian plate. This is a subduction zone. On the eastern side, the Pacific plate is subducting below the North American plate. However, near to the South America, this is not Pacific plate, this is Nazca plate. Nazca plate is subducting below South American plate. And towards the south, we have a ridge system, the Pacific Antarctic ridge system, which completely surrounds the Pacific Ocean from the south. Okay, we have defined the physical characteristics. Definitely यहाँ पर एक बगल में map डाल दो and फिर यहाँ पर दिखा देना. You can clearly show. So always remember, you can show this trenches and ridge system. Most commonly used जो symbol है यही है. Trench is always represented like this, with this triangles pointing towards the direction of subduction. If this is the direction of subduction, triangles should be pointing towards in this direction. Okay, here there is trench, here there is trench, here there is trench. देखो पूरा ट्रेंच है. Here it is parallel plate boundary. यहाँ पर ऐसे arrow mark दिखा दो. San Andreas fault. And the ridges are always represented like this. Okay, with lines like this. ऐसे. बहुत simple है. Very simple. You just have to know the symbols used for this. And just add one or two trenches का नाम. This is Tonga Trench. Recently Tonga volcanic eruption हुआ था. This is Mariana Trench, this is Japan Trench, Aleutian Trench. ठीक है, so वहाँ पर Peru Trench, East Pacific Rise, the Pacific Atlantic Ridge. सारा ज़रूरी नहीं है, एक दो ऐड कर दो. Just write नीचे एक box डालना बहुत ज़रूरी है. Write always all the figures and maps in a box, so that will give a proper एक neatness will be given. And here the heading. Okay, so heading for this, the Circum-Pacific belt. Circum-Pacific zone. So we have described the plate boundaries. Now what are the characteristics? There are large number of volcanoes. On the western side it is due to the subduction. It has created volcanoes, volcanic islands and island archipelago. All of these are created. Examples: the entire Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines archipelago, Japan island arc, Aleutian island arc. This is the characteristic around the western side. Towards the eastern side there is a subduction zone, because of which there is a formation of fold mountain. For example, Rockies on North America and Andes on South America. And because of the subduction, these fold mountains also has a line of volcanoes. There are line of volcanoes on Rockies as well as Andes. They are all due to the subduction. Give one or two examples. On Rockies we have any example of volcano? Rockies? St. Helens volcano, right? On Andes, Ojos del Salado, Cotopaxi, Chimborazo, right? So examples लिखो. जितना आप example लिखोगे उतना अच्छा रहेगा. Along with the volcanoes, earthquakes, Pacific belt is known for earthquakes. The zone of earthquakes. 90% of the world's earthquake is located in this region only at any point of time. 90% तो यहीं पे होता है. 75% of the active volcanoes of the world are located in this region only. हो गया आपका आंसर? Characteristic describe कर दिया. Since the question is about discuss, you have to write a conclusion. Conclusion can be anything. There should be ending statement. That is the meaning of this. How can you write a conclusion? Can somebody tell me? In this context, what should be the conclusion? The necessity of disaster management. Okay, so it is prone to the continuous volcanic activity, earthquake, and there is a huge population also living in this entire peripheral area. So we need to have a proper disaster management, proper planning, and disaster risk reduction system, mitigation measures. तो यही लिखो, conclusion हो गया. कोई भी conclusion statement काफ़ी है. Because we are discussing the nature of this circum-Pacific zone, हमारे लिए तो सबसे important यही है कि इसके वजह से बहुत ज़्यादा disaster हो सकता है. We have to be prepared for that. ठीक है? So if you write this much, figure लिख दो, heading डाल दो, examples लिख दो, 10 mark, you will get 7 marks. You can get 7 marks. Static questions which come directly from textbook, there is a high potential for scoring. That is what is static and basic. Static basic जो भी question आते हैं, there is a very high potential for scoring. Okay, this was asked in 2020. Let me show you a previous question. This was asked in 2014. Explain the formation of thousands of islands in Indonesia and Philippines archipelago. Same है, उसी का ही part था. Ocean subduction के ocean convergence plate boundary की वजह से. Here it discussed only the western part of the Pacific Ocean. So in this question, the present question, it discussed the entire Pacific Ocean. Right? Next. The process of desertification does not have climatic boundaries. Justify with example. What is the topic? जो 4 टॉपिक हमने डिस्कस किया था उनमें से कौन सा? Geophysical phenomena. Okay, so shall I show you the topic? Important geographical features and their location changes in critical geographical features, including water bodies, ice caps, flora, fauna and effects of such changes. इसमें सारा आ जाएगा हमारा climate change का. Climate change, environmental degradation, सब कुछ इसमें आ जाएगा. Melting of ice caps, changes in the water bodies, all of this from here only. This is a topic of geophysical phenomena. So is there any current relevance here? Question में current affairs related है, question में तो नहीं है. Okay, we don't consider this to be current affairs question. This is a static but applied. Okay, it is not a basic question, it is applied. You have to see, you have to understand the demand, then you have to give the answer, you have to frame the answer then and there. The context for this question is, this was asked in 2020 and in 2019 in Delhi there was COP2 UNCCD happened. The Conference of Parties to United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification that was held in Delhi in 2019. In that context this question has been asked. Okay, वही था COP 2019 वाला COP. And the question is bit tricky. You have to read the question carefully. Okay, let's read the question. The process of desertification does not have climatic boundaries. Justify with examples. चलो justify with example छोड़ो. Justify with example के पहले क्या दिया है? It is a statement. It is a complete statement. This is not a question. Okay, question mark नहीं. This is a statement. The process of desertification does not have climatic boundaries. What is the meaning of this? Yes, irrespective of the geographical boundary. मतलब desertification का जो process है ना वो कहीं पे भी हो सकता है. It can happen in any part of the earth. It goes beyond the climatic boundaries. Why we are bringing climatic boundary? You could have said geographical boundary, because desert is related to climatic zone. No, नहीं, you are going in other direction. Climatic role है ही, other factors भी है ही. The question is not about that. That is why the question is a bit tricky. The question is not about the reason behind the desertification. The question is about the desertification can happen anywhere beyond the climatic boundaries. Because if you study the climatic regions of the earth, there are total of how many climatic regions? How many climatic regions? बताइए हमारे class students. क्लास में तो करवाया था, मैंने ये भी बोला था जीसी लियोंग में दिया है. There are total of 11 climatic regions. 11 climatic regions. In that, desert is a proper climatic region. What is the climatic region? Hot zone, western margin. In hot zone, western margin, deserts are already, like in any part of the earth, deserts are always there. हमेशा रहता है. Because of three factors: offshore trade winds, nearness to high pressure belt, and presence of cold ocean currents. This is totally related to the climatic condition. वहाँ पर रहता है. But now the process of desertification is not limited to the climatic conditions, climatic regions. It is happening everywhere. हर जगह में हो सकता है, हर जगह में हो रहा है. That is the statement. There is a statement, we have to justify with examples. Whenever such kind of statement based question comes, you have to be very, very careful. Some of them forget that this is a statement based question. They will bring both for and against argument. No. You can never go against the statement which is already given here. You have no other option than to justify here. ये नहीं बोल सकता है कि desertification is totally related to the climatic regions only. You have to, your answer should talk only about the lack of regional boundary. कहीं पे भी हो सकता है. That is your answer. ठीक है? Never go against the statement. This is a statement based question. Never go against the statement. You have to justify this. ये तो clearly दे दिया. Justify with examples. So दोबारा बताइए हमारा जो standard protocol है. As soon as you read the question, before starting to write the answer, you have to see whether there is a scope for map or figure. Is there a scope for map or figure? Yes. You can draw a world map and show where all the desertification process is active. Very simple, 1 mark extra. Each and every mark counts. What is the introduction? Define desertification, simple. What is desertification? So you are defining desert. What is desertification? The process in which the land is continuously losing its fertility. It's basically land degradation, but land degradation in arid areas. That is what is desertification. It is land degradation in arid areas. Already arid area hai. Already it is vulnerable. Now it will lose further fertility and it will become totally desert. That is what is desertification. And definitely this is not limited to expansion of deserts. ऐसे ज़रूरी नहीं है desertification होने के लिए वहाँ पर desert already है. Desertification can happen even in those regions where there are no deserts. There is some arid area. Arid area doesn't mean that this is totally unfertile. Okay, fertility थोड़ा बहुत तो रहता है. If there is a continuous loss of fertility, then that process is what is called as desertification. It makes the land unsuitable for vegetation growth. Right? So you can write that in the introduction. Now coming to the body, the process of desertification does not have climatic boundaries. In the first part, you have to see how the desertification is going beyond climatic boundaries. Here you can bring the traditional way how the hot deserts are formed. You can start with how the usually traditionally deserts are formed. Usually they are found at the hot zone western margin because of these three conditions which I already told you, due to the presence of offshore trade winds, cold ocean currents and nearness to subtropical high pressure belt. Traditionally the climatic regions fixed tha. Now it is going beyond the climatic regions. Examples: desertification is observed in European areas. Around the Mediterranean region towards the north, the land is becoming drier day by day. It is also being observed in the North America. With a more dryness, more evaporation, the land is getting dry. South America, yes. No, polar vortex nahi aayega idhar. I'm talking about, you tell it is global phenomena first, then we'll justify it. This is a complete statement. You have to address all the parts. It is saying that it is not a climatic boundary, it is a global phenomena. हर जगह में हो सकता है. In every type of climatic region it is possible. It is happening in Central Asia also. Around Aral Sea, it is drying up. Around Central Asia it is happening. Australia तो है ही, already है. It is expanding. In India, dry, arid interior. Rajasthan, interior Rajasthan, it is happening. The parts of Madhya Pradesh and the eastern Rajasthan, जहाँ पर desert नहीं था, वहाँ पर भी expansion हो रहा है. Right? Africa, definitely. The southern part of Africa, north में तो है ही. Southern part of Africa is also undergoing drying up. Establish that first. You establish that it is going beyond the climatic boundaries. Now what are the reasons behind that? Why it is going beyond the traditional climatic boundaries? What are the reasons behind this? Unnecessary matlab expansion of desertification. You need to justify this. This is the justification it is asking. But before justification, you have to establish this is a global phenomena. There you have to give examples. So this topic was clearly mentioned in IPCC also. IPCC AR 6 के अंदर इसके बारे में mention हुआ था. ठीक है? Now what are the reasons why it is a global phenomena now? It is not limited to particular climatic zones. सारा डाल सकते हो इधर, जो भी desertification का causes है सारा लेके आ जाओ, including the natural as well as anthropogenic factors. Natural factors, the change in the global climatic conditions. Okay, global warming पूरा मत लेके आओ, global warming तो anthropogenic ही है. Okay, global climatic variations हो रहे हैं. It can happen through natural factors also. Anthropogenic factors, deforestation, land degradation, commercial agriculture, soil erosion, right? Excessive evaporation. Then फिर लेके आओ जो global warming, okay, higher rate of evaporation and overgrazing. Overgrazing also causes the removal of vegetation. ठीक है? And then greenhouse effect, ठीक है, और heat waves, excessive heat waves, ठीक है, then changing pattern of monsoon, oceanic circulation, very good, yes, yes. Biological, yes, yes, we can add that. Yes, yes, very good. That is also a good point. It is not limited to particular climatic conditions. In marine areas, because of the marine heat waves, we are seeing constant creation of dead zones. That is biological desert. ठीक है, good point. ठीक है, so ये justify करेंगे. Conclusion चाहिए? बिल्कुल चाहिए. So we are talking about the problem. What is required? We need coordinated efforts at the global level. This is because this is not limited to any nation, any particular region. This is a global issue. We need a global cooperation, है ना? So इसीलिए यूएनएफसीसी अगर कंक्लूजन पे यूएनएफसीसी लेके आ गया, पूरा आंसर हो गया आपका, बिकॉज द क्वेश्चन वाज आस्क्ड इन दैट कंटेक्स्ट ओनली. अगर कंटेक्स्ट समझ लिया तो वो कंक्लूजन में लेके आ सकते हो. यू कैन ब्रिंग इट डायरेक्टली इन द कंक्लूजन. मेन पॉइंट था जस्टिफाई करना, वो बताना है, उसके पहले बताना है. हो रहा है बट बाकी पोर्शन में हो रहा है, बट एक्चुअल क्वेश्चन इज जस्टिफाई दिस. जस्टिफाई करना है क्यों हो रहा है, क्यों हर जगह में हो रहा है वो बताना है. ओके हर जगह में हो रहा है, क्योंकि ये जो बात हमने किया है, जो भी कारण लेके आए हैं, वो हर जगह में हो रहा है. डेजर्टिफिकेट द डिफॉरेस्टेशन इज हैपनिंग एवरीवेयर. इट इज हैपनिंग इन टेम्परेट रीजन, इट इज हैपनिंग इन नियर टू द टाइगा, है ना, वहां पर सबसे लार्जेस्ट डिफॉरेस्टेशन हो रहा है, तो वहां पर भी डेजर्टिफिकेशन का चांसेस है. तो वो लेके आना है. इन एवरी ऑफ दिस आर्गुमेंट यू हैव टू ब्रिंग दैट दिस इज नॉट लिमिटेड टू पर्टिकुलर क्लाइमेटिक जोन और पर्टिकुलर रीजन, दिस इज ए ग्लोबल फिनोमेना. You can talk about the green wall in the conclusion. Okay, so the Great Green Wall Initiative of Africa, as well as in the same way we are also trying to replicating in India to stop the expansion of deserts in Aravallis. Aravallis के उस तरफ हम Green Wall का initiative लिया है ना, you can write that in the conclusion. ऐसा initiative लिया है. So next, how will the melting of Himalayan glaciers have far-reaching impact on the water resources of India? This was asked in 2020. This was the question in 2014. ठीक है, almost same है, right? Okay, so read this question first. How will the melting of Himalayan glaciers will have far-reaching impact on the water resources? Basically, impact of melting of glacier on the water resources of India. इसमें देखो, relationship between the shrinking of Himalayan glaciers and symptoms of climate change in the Indian subcontinent. There are various different symptoms of climate change, and one of the symptom of climate change is the changes in the water resources. उसका एक component था, उसी को ही एक question बना दिया. The reason is same, the melting of glacier. Shrinking of glacier is melting of glacier, same. And this is something which was currently in news, constantly in news, the melting of Himalayan glaciers. Okay, this is one of the news article which came in 2019. So 2020 में question आया था ना, तो इसलिए I have just given the context. So what is the topic? 4 topics में कौन सा है? Geophysical phenomena, है ना, melting of ice caps, and it's a direct question. There is no indirect way of asking, twist करने के analyze करके कोई कुछ नहीं है. Melting का क्या impact है water resources के ऊपर? What is the impact of melting of glaciers on the water resources? बस, and it's applied. It's applied. ऐसे fixed answer तो नहीं होगा. You have to make the answer then and there by reading the question. So, what should be the introduction? That you can write in the body of the answer. You can begin from there. Introduction can be little bit some more. Rather than coming to the reasons, you can tell what is the status of melting of glacier, how much it has melted. It is said that after we started to feel the impact of the global warming, we have lost nearly 25% of the Himalayan glaciers. The overall extent में, मतलब not in terms of number, their size have decreased by 25%. Okay, this is something which is quoted in most of the reports, including IPCC. and the rate of melting has almost doubled in the last decade. The rate of melting of Himalayan glaciers have almost doubled in the last decade. Fine. This you can bring it in the answer. See, whenever you, if at all you have a fact or information, you can always start with that. Fact is a very good way of starting the answer, introduction. How will the melting of Himalayan glaciers have far-reaching impact on the water resource of India? Okay. So let's come to the body of the answer. Directly come to the impacts. But before this, if you want to establish कहाँ पर कितना मेल्ट हुआ है, कोई रिपोर्ट है, वो सब चीज़ें भी एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हो. इफ यू वांट टू राइट briefly about the reasons behind the melting, that also can be explained here, but keep it very limited. Okay, keep it very limited, because our question is directly about the impact. You will get a huge amount of content in this. बहुत सारा content मिलेगा, content के लिए कमी है ही नहीं है. आप जितना जल्दी directly focus पे मतलब जो subject में आओगे उतना अच्छा है. What are the impacts बताइए? What are the impacts of? Directly talk about the water resource of India. Water resource पे ही आ जाइए. What are the impacts of glacier melting on the water resources? Groundwater level actually decrease होगा. हाँ. Flooding. In the short run it causes flooding. In the long run it causes more dry spells. Because of the faster melting, initially it will cause the flooding, right? We will also see increase in the glacial lake outburst floods. Large number of glacial lakes are going to be created, which we can consider to be the source of fresh water. ठीक है, fresh water source initially बढ़ गया. कहाँ पर? Mountainous area में. In mountainous areas it is going to increase. However, there is also a threat that they may outburst at any point of time. For example, Kedarnath 2013. Which is due to the outburst of Chorabari Lake, which is a glacial lake. Like this, large number of glacial lakes can get created, and they may also get outburst, causing huge flooding. In the long run, because of the decrease in the glacier extent, the water availability in the rivers may decrease. The groundwater recharge reduces, the groundwater level decreases. The entire northern plains of India, the Ganga plains, Indus plains and Brahmaputra plains, one of the largest extensive alluvial plains and has the largest extensive groundwater reserves in the world. But because of the glacier melting over a period of time, the water level may drop. Then, yes, it will definitely impact the agriculture. You can write that. And then increases the water, increase the soil erosion, right? Increase the soil erosion, and then impacts the riverine ecosystem. If you can do it, but everywhere you have to bring in the context of water resource only. In the context of water resource ही declare लेके आना है ना. अगर कर सकते हैं तो ठीक है. Increase in the sea level is not directly related to the water resource as such, है ना. water resources related बात कीजिए, मतलब जो हमारे लिए water का requirement कहाँ पर चाहिए, drinking water, agriculture, irrigation के लिए, fishing के लिए, navigation के लिए, तो हर जगह में इसका impact कैसे रहेगा उसका बात कर सकते हो. Seasonal availability of seasonal variation भी होगा. So consistency is one of the keys, one of the important characteristics of Indian rivers. The Himalayan drainage system is known for consistent flow. That consistency will decreases. The availability of water during the dry seasons decreases. There is too much of variability in terms of availability of water. Yes, hydro power capacity will decrease, right? Yes, mangrove तो vegetation हो जाएगा, water resource के limit कर सकते हैं. ठीक है? These are the various impacts, and definitely you need a conclusion here. Conclusion तो चाहिए. This is a issue based question. Whenever issue based question, you can write a conclusion here. So what exactly is required in this context? Coordinated efforts at the global level. This is because this is not an issue at the national level. This is an international issue. Global warming, climate change. We need the successful implementation of Paris Agreement so that we can control the global warming, which has a direct implication on the melting of glaciers. Simple. Can we draw a map or figure here? Yes, India map. Show the location of the glacier caps and the rivers, major rivers draw कर दो, उसके ऊपर impact दिखा दो, बस simple है. एक extra mark यार, क्यों छोड़ना है? आधा भी मिल गया तो भी काफ़ी है. This is an interesting question. Account for the present location of iron and steel industries away from the source of raw material by giving examples. Okay, so there are a few traps here, I'll tell you. Okay, and there is a previous question, 2014. Account for the change in the spatial pattern of iron and steel industry in the world. So what exactly they are asking? In 2014 wala question. How exactly the iron and steel industry in the world is changing its pattern and changing in terms of distribution? कैसे change हो रहा है? One of the important change observed in the iron and steel industry in the world is it is shifting away from the source of raw material. That is asked here. वहाँ पर तो पूरा change के बारे में हुआ है, यहाँ पर तो specifically एक change के बारे में हुआ है बात. ठीक है? So what is this question? Account for the present location of iron and steel industries away from the source of raw material by giving examples. Topic बताइए, which topic is this? Economic activity, industries. Industries related question तो एक तो होता है usually. Okay, so economic activity is related. So in that industry is iron and steel industry most important. So is it a static or current related? It is static. Current related तो नहीं है इसमें. ठीक है? And this is applied, not basic. So because there's not these things you will not study as part of geography. थोड़ा बहुत सोच के लिखना पड़ेगा. What is the question here? Account for. Okay, so let's decode this. What do you mean by account for? What do you mean by account for? Why? What is the reason? You have to explain the reason. You have to justify this. ऐसे क्यों हुआ है? Account for the present location of iron and steel industries away from the source of raw material by giving examples. Again, यहाँ पर trap ये है कि going against the statement. You should never go against the statement, even if you have many examples where the iron and steel industries are located near to the raw material source. Raw material जहाँ पर produce होते हैं वहाँ पर located हो सकता है, but we are not concerned about that. The question is talking about those iron and steel industries which are located near to the raw material, sorry, away from the raw material regions. We will be justifying only that. Examples directly पूछा है, you have to write as many examples as possible. So how do you introduce your answer? So basically intent क्या है? What is the demand of the question? Normally iron and steel industry is always located near to the raw materials. Okay, it is always depend upon the raw material. Why? Because the raw materials are weight losing raw material. Whatever the raw materials which we use in iron and steel industry, they are all weight losing raw material. Iron ore, coal, most important raw material. It will lose its weight by 1/3. The final product which you get is 1/3 of the original weight. So it is always beneficial, always profitable if you establish iron and steel industry near to the source of raw material. But in the recent times we are seeing that iron and steel industries are being established away from the source of raw material. ऐसा क्यों हो गया? What is the reason behind this? This is the overall question. You can write the introduction the same thing जो मैंने अभी बताया. Iron and steel industry is traditionally located near to the source of raw material because it is too dependent upon the weight losing raw material. For example, iron as well as coal, which will lose the weight by 1/3. Okay, you can give the examples of the Pittsburgh, the iron and steel capital of the world, which is located near to the Great Lake area. Great Lake area has a huge reserves of iron and nearby coal also. You can also talk about Ukraine. Many of the iron and steel industries are located over there. Erstwhile Soviet Union ka. There is a rich reserves of iron as well as coal over there. You know, 1 or 2 examples would be sufficient. Now comes the justification of away. Why they are shifting away from the source of raw materials now? There are various different conditions. Okay, in various different situations, it gets shifted away from the source of raw material. For example, one of the condition is port location, coastal locations. In many of the places, it is easier to import the raw material and make a iron steel plant rather than transporting the raw material from the interior, process it, and then make a iron steel using that. In few of the locations, it is always beneficial. Example, Visakhapatnam, Vizag steel plant, है ना? Example बहुत जरूरी है. Justify with example दे दिया. Any other example at the global level? And always don't limit your answer to India only, because there is no mention of India here. If it is limited to India, then you have to talk about India. Geography में ये बहुत clear है, because this is specifically mentioned geography of the world. उसमें assumed है India का. Unless it is specifically asked, you should write in the context of world. ठीक है? Any other examples of the coastal steel plants? Japan. Japan has no raw material at all. वहाँ पर मिलता नहीं है. No iron ore, no coal. They are located near to the coastal region because they are dependent upon the imports and exports. Cities पे आता है. This is port location where it is not dependent upon the raw material. In few of the regions, the raw material is depleting. The availability of raw material is declining. The quality of coal is declining. The quality of iron is declining. No more it is profitable. Now it has to shift away from the source of raw material only. ठीक है? Wherever it is happening, it will definitely shift out. And then cost. इसका best example है Pittsburgh. The cost of production increases even though it is near to the source of raw material. The cost of production increases if the urban area has become too developed. It has to shift away. It happened in USA. Now most of the iron steel industries, they are shifted towards the south. It is easier for them to transport. It is cheaper for them to transport rather than establish in a costly location. Right? Okay, इसका example है Pittsburgh. And government policy is also another major reason why many of these steel plants are located away from the source of raw material. Best example is Salem steel plant. Where is Salem steel plant? Tamil Nadu. There is no iron over there. There is not much coal. There is some naively lignite है, but ज़्यादा काफी नहीं है वो. Iron तो बिल्कुल नहीं है उधर. It is because of the government initiative. And most importantly, near to the cities due to the establishment of mini steel plants. ठीक है? What is a mini steel plant? Which uses scrap iron. Small size steel plant which uses scrap iron. And scrap iron is easily available from the urban areas. It has shorter gestation period. It has lower investment. है ना? And the demand is also fulfilled. Market is easily available in the urban areas. That will justify it. देखो इतना सारा मिल गया. Example सारा डाल दो, हो गया आपका काम. Water availability, but water से ज़्यादा raw material का ही focus होगा इधर. Raw material itself will decide, but we have to justify that it is not necessary that it has to be always located near to raw material. दूसरी जगह से भी raw material मिल जाएगा. कोस्टल रीजन में ये बात कर सकते हैं वाटर अवेलेबिलिटी. एक दो एग्जांपल तो याद रखना पड़ेगा. There are, try to remember at least 10 integrated steel plants. Integrated steel plants 10 है इंडिया में, उसका याद रखो थोड़ा बहुत. And roughly see what are the locational factors which have influenced these. ठीक है? Next one, interlinking of rivers can provide viable solution to multidimensional interrelated problems of droughts, floods and interrupted navigation. Critically examine. ठीक है. There was almost similar question in 2017. In what way can the floods be converted into sustainable source of irrigation and all weather inland navigation? देखो same issues का ही बात किया है. Flood हो गया, irrigation का हो गया, तो navigation का भी हो गया. वहाँ पर पूछा है कैसे इसको अचीव करना है. यहाँ पर डायरेक्टली बात कर लिया एक सोल्यूशन के बारे में. There you have to talk about all the different ways in which you can sustainably manage a flood to achieve these goals. Here the same, how you are going to manage the floods to achieve the goals using the solution of interlinking of rivers. Okay? The specific version of that question is here. This question is totally based on this project, interlinking of river project. Okay? So this map is definitely expected here. यहाँ पर तो चाहिए, नहीं यहाँ पर मैप नहीं मिला तो मार्क्स डिडक्ट हो जाएगा. ठीक है. So what should be the introduction? Somebody tell me the introduction. क्या लिख सकते हैं? What is this project? Project क्या है? Because the question is not asking what is the project. Question is asking about the benefits as well as issues. Because the statement, this is the statement says that interlinking of river can solve the problems of drought, floods and uninterrupted navigation. Right? बात तो वही है ना. Interlinking solves the problems of droughts, floods and uninterrupted navigation. अगर यही था, इसके जगह में justify it, we will talk only pro. हम justify करेंगे, इससे ये हो जाएगा. पर यहाँ पर है critically examine. That means we'll bring both the arguments. Whether it will solve the problems? Yes. Are there any issues? Yes. What are the issues? Simple है. We got the entire structure. Introduce your answer with what is this project? What is this project? It was a project initiated during the British time. मतलब planned during the British time. वो लोग plan किए थे. After independence, it was taken up when K.L. Rao made a proper detailed analysis. K.L. Rao in 1972 made this plan. It has total of 30 components, a total of 30 links connecting the Himalayan drainage system with the peninsular drainage system. Okay? This is what is interlinking of the project. Very briefly, you have to write all of this in introduction only, because the question is not about the project. बहुत लोग बहुत इसके project के ऊपर पूरा question लिख के आए हैं. बात तो उसी का है ही नहीं है. This is just the introduction. Then what is the main body of the question? How it will solve the problems of droughts, floods and uninterrupted navigation. Can easily explain. Majorly peninsular regions, they are short of water because of the seasonal rivers. By connecting the links, we can transfer the excess water from the Himalayan component. It will reduce the droughts. It will reduce the floods over there. Examples देते जाओ. And beach में connecting links जहाँ पर भी होगा, it increases the inland navigation. Dams बनेगा, canals बनेगा. So definitely this is going to be a sustainable solution. Critically examine में the opposite argument. It creates various challenges. What are they? Environmental challenges, economic challenges, administrative challenges. जितना चाहिए उतना लिख सकते हो. Right? And then conclusion. What will be the conclusion? This is not a panacea for water problem in India. ऐसा नहीं कि सिंगल इससे हमारा सारा वाटर प्रॉब्लम कंक्लूड हो खत्म हो जाएगा. The water scarcity in India majorly related to the availability of water is not due to the excessive, it is not due to the shortage of demand. Sorry, it is not due to the shortage of supply, it is due to the high demand. सप्लाई की वजह से प्रॉब्लम नहीं है हमारा, डिमांड की वजह से. आवर एक्टिविटीज आर मोर वाटर इंटेंसिव. That has resulted in water scarcity. Gradually it will get converted into floods. Sorry, drought. Okay, gradually it will get converted into droughts. So for that we need sustainable water management. ठीक है? So interlinking of rivers and this large scale is not a solution. However, we can implement in case to case basis. Example, Ken-Betwa linkage, which is part of this same project only. This one you can write in the conclusion. By analyzing the overall pros and cons, if we think that the output is more, okay, by overcoming these challenges, if you can have more benefits, definitely we can implement this, but on case to case basis. Account for huge flooding of million cities in India, including the smart ones like Hyderabad and Pune, and suggest lasting remedial measures. Urban floods. Multiple times the question have come on urban floods. This is not the first time. Okay, so it is surprising to see 2016 we had urban flood question in paper 1 as well as paper 3. Okay, so if you remember in the last session I had discussed a question on urban floods in paper 3. ठीक है, आया था. पेपर 3 में भी आता है अर्बन फ्लड्स, पेपर 1 में भी आएगा, तो कॉमन है. वन ऑफ द मोस्ट डिस्कस टॉपिक एंड डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट के कंटेक्स्ट में भी, गवर्नेंस के कंटेक्स्ट में भी, एज वेल एज ज्योग्राफी के कंटेक्स्ट में भी मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इश्यू. प्लीज प्रिपेयर थोरोली. हर साल तो आते हैं अर्बन फ्लड्स हमारा. एवरी ईयर वी सी अर्बन फ्लड्स इन वन और द अदर सिटी. Question is again account for means why? Why do we face the issue of flooding of million cities in India, including the smart ones like Hyderabad and Pune? Suggest the lasting remedial measures. Okay. So how do you introduce the answer? Bring any of the recent incidents of urban floods. Best हो जाएगा. Recent examples, recent cities facing the urban floods. ठीक है. And the second part will be why we are facing this issue. What are the reasons why the million cities are facing the issues? बहुत सारा है. The concrete surface, loss of water bodies, loss of lakes and wetlands. Okay. So and then disturbance of the natural drainage pattern. Then unplanned urbanization. And then deforestation, removal of all the vegetation, otherwise it would have slowed down the water, it will have percolated the water. ऐसा बहुत सारा है. एग्जाम्पल दे दो. बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल है हमारा बैंगलोर का है, जितना चाहिए लिख सकते हो. At one point of time बैंगलोर had large number of lakes, nearly 200 lakes were there. अभी बचा है 10-15. Same is the case with Hyderabad, same is the case with Chennai. Most of these the lakes and wetlands are converted. ठीक है. Solution. The second part is why, third part is solution. Last longing solution बताओ. Okay, short term solution नहीं. We need integrated planning of urban space. Okay, proper planning, urban development, proper planning के हिसाब से होना चाहिए. And definitely this should not involve the conversion of water bodies into the urban area settlement. इसके ऊपर एक और क्वेश्चन आए हैं. Okay, so next I think 21 या 22 में क्वेश्चन आए हैं. ठीक है. And increasing the green coverage in urban areas. Here you can bring the suggestion of NDMA. NDMA has suggested a concept called as rain garden. In urban areas, small patches of rain gardens with vegetation and soil coverage. Whenever there is an excessive rainfall, this will be able to absorb the water. Because we have too much of concrete surface, it has reduced the percolation of water. Okay, here and there, wherever there is a possibility, create rain gardens. Okay, and then reclamation of these lost water bodies, उसको लेके आओ थोड़ा बहुत. Then we can use this excess water which comes during the rainfall. Excess rainfall के टाइम में जो भी बारिश आएगा ना, वो वहाँ पर सेव होगा, तो percolation होगा. उसकी वजह से ड्रॉट्स भी कम हो जाएगा, फ्लड्स भी कम हो जाएगा, दोनों कम हो जाएगा. And rain water harvesting, there is a huge potential for rain water harvesting in urban areas. India has immense potential of solar energy, though there are regional variations in its development. Elaborate. Again a statement based question, you have to go with the statement. Rain garden कुछ नहीं है, जो here and there whatever wherever there is availability of space, develop gardens with vegetation. Okay, vegetation जैसे होना चाहिए, थोड़ा बहुत अच्छा सा trees होना चाहिए. So that this will help in percolation of water. It will slow down the water. Whatever the rainfall which falls, it will slow down and it will help in slow percolation of water. It helps in absorption rather than runoff. India has immense potential for solar energy, though there are regional variations in its development. Elaborate. Again, carefully, it is a statement. You have to go with the statement. ठीक है, तो बोल दिए, ये स्टेटमेंट दे दिया, एलोबरेट करो. एलोबरेट का मतलब है स्टेटमेंट इज 100% ट्रू. यू हैव टू एक्सपैंड दिस. दिस इन द कंटेक्स्ट ऑफ किस कंटेक्स्ट में क्वेश्चन आए हैं? इंडियाज टारगेट्स टुवर्ड्स पेरिस एग्रीमेंट. INDC में हमने तो प्लेज कर दिया, इतना रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी लेके आए, उसमें हमारा मेजर टारगेट है सोलर एनर्जी ओनली. यही आप इंट्रोडक्शन में लिख दो, एवेलेटर कुछ हो जाएगा. You can write it in the introduction that India had pledged so and so renewable energy target as per Paris agreement to fulfill the Paris agreement, to fulfill its INDCs, and in that it aims to achieve 500 gigawatts of solar energy by 2030. That is the target. 500 gigawatts of solar energy by 2030. Okay, that is our target. In that context only we have this question. And are we progressing in that direction? Yes, definitely. If you compare between 2014 का जो solar energy and the present solar energy, there is an increase of 11 times. We are rapidly expanding our solar energy production. Okay. You can write that in the introduction. The statement has two parts. One is India has immense potential. पहले potential के बारे में लिखो. India has immense potential. Though there are regional variations in its development. Second, regional variations. Then comes conclusions. Conclusion तो चाहिए, because regional variation is something which is a cause of concern. What is the potential of India? Potential क्या है? पहले potential बताएं. Tropic of Cancer. Half of India lies below the Tropic of Cancer. Even the regions above the Tropic of Cancer also, they are not completely temperate in nature. We have a tropical climate only. We have hot weather conditions, at least for major part of the year. So there is a huge potential. The overall potential is 5,000 trillion kilowatt hour per year. We can produce this much of energy. The complete potential of India from the solar energy is 5,000 trillion kilowatt hour. There is a huge potential. And a large area is under tropical conditions. And more than that, we have a huge land availability also. कहाँ पर? Dry land area. There is a huge dry land area, desert area. Why we are making so many big solar parks in Rajasthan? और कुछ यहाँ पर ज़्यादा यूटिलाइज नहीं होगा. We need land area. It is easily available. वहाँ पर लगाओ. Right? There is a huge dry land area. All of it we can use it because it will not be used for agriculture or any other purpose. Where the population is less, we can use all of it. There is a huge dry land area, and there is a various different regions where developing solar energy is going to be much more beneficial. For example, remote areas, hilly areas. There is no alternative. तो और beneficial रहेगा. Potential भी है, beneficial भी होगा. And more than all of this, in urban areas, through rooftop system, we have huge potential. Most of the urban areas, we have flat roof. The million cities, there's huge potential. If you make it compulsory, every new building should have a rooftop solar energy system. तो आधा काम हो जाएगा वहाँ पर. There's a huge potential. What are the reasons behind the regional variations? Development. Okay, so there is not much of development in few of the regions, even though there is a very high potential. For example, Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh has a very high potential, but in terms of the development, Karnataka is leading. Okay, Karnataka is leading, Telangana is leading, Rajasthan is leading. Only few states are leading, but जहाँ पर potential है वो पूरे develop नहीं हुआ. Another Eastern India. Eastern India also has huge potential. Okay, so it is not well developed. Urban areas, again huge potential, not well developed because of the way we are making the policies or the implementation. And in northern India there is a issue, seasonality. The winter areas, winter times, there is a issue. Because of this, there is a huge variation. You can draw an India map very easily and show the regional variation, which of the regions where there is highly developed, where there is low development, where there is a high potential but still low developed. ये सब लिखा हो. Simple India map would be sufficient here. ठीक है? Examine the status of forest resource. Governance वाला point भी आ जाएगा. Reasons behind why there is not much of development in other states. Okay, so state का involvement भी ज़रूरी है, state government का involvement भी बहुत ज़रूरी है, and subsidy का भी component लेके आ सकते हो, है ना? नहीं, challenges का ज़्यादा ज़रूरी नहीं है. Why there is a regional variation वही काफ़ी है. Okay, so you are saying there is a high potential and there is a regional variation and then conclude it. Examine the status of forest resource of India and resultant impact on the climate change. ये तो direct question था, expected भी था, and this is related to current affairs. How? State of the forest report. Okay, it was released in December of 2019. 2019 December में release हुआ था. 2020 exam में directly question आ गया. Examine the status of forest resources of India. Directly write what you observed from the state of the forest report. You draw a map and show the important areas where there is high areas of forest coverage. So what is the status of India's forest resource? What is the current coverage? इसके बाद में एक और रिपोर्ट भी आया है, 2021 का रिपोर्ट आया है. As per the latest report, it is 24.62%. And have we increased or decreased from 2019? Increased. Okay, there is a very small increase, but increase हुआ है. 2019 में 24.56 था, अभी 24.62 हुआ है. There is a minor increase only. What is the nature of forest? There is a vast area of deciduous forest. वो भी dry deciduous ज़्यादा है. And cause of and one observation which is a cause of concern. Thick forest areas of northeastern region are observing decline in the forest coverage. At one point of time, if you go back 10 years before, most of the states had forest coverage above 80%. Now presently only one state which is there above 80%. That is Mizoram. अरुणाचल प्रदेश एरिया कवरेज है, मिजोरम परसेंटेज कवरेज है. ठीक है? And we are seeing increase in the dense forestation. Okay, so in terms of density of the canopy cover, we have three types of forests: dense, moderately dense, open forest. Dense का ज़्यादा हो रहा है, but that is also cause of concern because dense forest is mainly where we are seeing increasing is plantations. Okay, so artificial plantation, there is no diversity over there. ये सारा first part हो गया. Examine the status of forest resources. Second part is a very tricky one. Second part is its resultant impact on climate change. If you don't read this carefully, you will write the impact of climate change on the forest resource. The second part is impact of forest resource on climate change. What should we write here? There is a huge resource of forest resource in India, forest resource. This is our carbon stock. This is our carbon sequestration, natural method of carbon sequestration. We have to reduce the deforestation which is happening. That is adding huge quantity of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. We have to stop it. The status of forest resource का मतलब ये नहीं कि कितना है बताओ, कितना change हो रहा है वो भी बताना है. So I told you north east में बहुत सारा change हो रहा है, and that is adding on to the release of greenhouse gases. Decrease in the forest coverage, deforestation will release the carbon dioxide. It will add to the global warming. I also told you dense forest coverage is increasing, but artificial plantation stores lesser amount of carbon. Along with that, we also see the land degradation, land degradation and desertification, which will release the carbon which is stored in the soil. Soil carbon is also being released into the atmosphere. That will also add to the climate change, right? And the decline in the vegetation will reduce the water content in the soil, makes the soil more dry. Okay? And that will again adds on to the climate change by releasing the soil carbon. ये सब चीज़ें बात करना है. You have to be very careful here. Don't add just generic point how climate change is impacting the forest resource. This is otherwise. You have to tell how forest resources are impacting the climate change. So that is 2020. Let's take a quick break. Continue. We'll quickly cover the rest. अभी तो एक approach का idea लग गया है आपको. So we'll quickly cover it. Coming to the questions of 2021. Differentiate the causes of landslides in Himalayan region and Western Ghats. So which topic is this? Disaster management. Then why are we having this question in geography? Geophysical phenomena, the changes which we are observing in the landscape. It's a topic of geophysical phenomena. So is it static or current affairs? Static. Geophysical phenomena का proper तो ये तो पढ़ना ही पड़ेगा. Landslide is a type of mass movement. Various different types of mass movements, causes, impacts, ये सब तो डिटेल में पढ़ेंगे. Is it basic or applied? ठीक है, we can say applied to some extent, because if the question was about what are the causes of landslide, then it would have been basic. Here it is not just the cause of landslide. Here it is saying that what are the differences between the causes in Himalayan region and the cause in Western Ghats. Slightly applied, okay, slightly tricky. Introduction. So can we write a map here? Yes. So draw India map and show the Himalayan region and show the Western Ghats. Mark 1 or 2 reasons over that. Okay, उसके reason वहाँ पर एक दो mark कर देना, यहाँ पर एक दो mark कर देना. Introduction, you can start with the definition of the landslides. Landslide is a mass movement, large scale movement which is observed along the mountain slopes. Okay? So due to the weathering, erosion which happens in over a large scale. That is introduction. Causes of landslides. Here you cannot write general causes. The best, if you can differentiate between the Himalayan and Western Ghats in a tabular form. Can you do it? Take every cause and differentiate whether it is applicable here or here. Okay, starting with the tectonic changes. Can it trigger landslide? Yes, of course it can trigger landslide, and that is a major cause in Himalayan region, but that is not a cause in Western Ghats. Western Ghats totally stable. Right? Heavy rainfall. Heavy rainfall can be a cause of landslides. Yes. That is applicable not for the entire Himalayas, but towards the southern slopes of Himalayas. Whereas in Western Ghats, the western side of Western Ghats, as well as some parts of eastern side also. Right? So can you see how we can differentiate? So in the same way you can talk about deforestation, land use changes, construction of roads, okay, dams, bridges, whether it is applicable in Himalayan region or peninsular region, sorry, the Western Ghats, दोनों में applicable होगा, तो differentiate करते जाओ. It is very clear, very objectively you can define how the causes of landslide are there in Himalayan region and how the causes of landslide are there in the Western Ghats. तो ये differentiate the cause of landslides. So what about conclusion? Conclusion है कि दोनों landslide prone area है. The causes may be different, but both are prone to landslides. Landslides are most frequent in both the areas. We need measures, but the measures should be taken accordingly. The Himalayan region requires a specific mitigation measures based on the causes over there. The Western Ghats require specific mitigation measures based on the causes over there. देखो पूरा आंसर रेडी हो गया. Okay, even though applied, you can write a very good answer here. थोड़ा सा सोच के लिख दिया तो हो गया. Is that clear? Yes, conclusion necessary है. We are talking about the comparison between both the types of both the landslides happening in both the Himalayas as well as Western Ghats. इसमें क्या difference है? Same ही है, ये different है, ये totally different है, उसका impact क्या है? थोड़ा सा conclusion का ज़रूरी है. Landslide तो most common है. Paper 1 में ये question आया है, देखो. Bring out the causes for more frequent occurrence of landslides in Himalayas than Western Ghats. Direct. Okay, as it is, this was asked in 2013. In paper 1 only. ये तो as it is है, almost as it is है. The Himalayas are highly prone to landslide. Discuss the cause and suggest the suitable measures of mitigation. आधा question है. ठीक है? Totally repeat. Despite India being one of the countries of Gondwana land, its mining industry contributes much less to its GDP in percentage. Discuss. Slightly technical. You may think that you don't know what is the contribution of mining in India's GDP, but that should not discourage you from writing answer. You may lose half mark or 1 mark maximum. Bas. The question is not about how much of contribution is there. The question is why it is not contributing much. बस उसको हम इंट्रोडक्शन में ही लिखेंगे. The question says that India is part of Gondwana land. If you take other parts of Gondwana land, what are the other parts of Gondwana land? Africa, South America, Australia. All of these are doing very well in mining industry. And all of them, because of its origin from a single landmass, they have a rich mineral resource, including India also. India में भी अच्छा खासा है. Okay, so that you have to bring. Being part of the same Gondwana land, all of these are rich in mineral resources. However, India's contribution in mining is very, very less. India's mining industry's contribution in India's GDP is very, very less. So India's mining sector accounts for nearly only 1.5 to 2% of GDP growth. 1.5 to 2% only. Whereas in other countries, it accounts a minimum of 5 to 6% of GDP. It is very less compared to other countries. यही हो गया इंट्रोडक्शन. बाकी मेन आंसर देखो. व्हाट आर द रीजंस बिहाइंड दिस. बहुत सिंपल क्वेश्चन है. क्वेश्चन को ऐसे ट्विस्ट करके दिया है, ठीक से समझ नहीं पाएंगे तो इसलिए तो लिखने में डर के थोड़ा बहुत आधा आधा लिख के छोड़ देंगे. व्हाट इज द एक्चुअल इंटेंशन ऑफ द क्वेश्चन. व्हाट आर द इश्यूज ऑफ माइनिंग इंडस्ट्री इन इंडिया. माइनिंग का क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम है, व्हाई इट इज नॉट फंक्शनिंग टू इट्स फुल पोटेंशियल. बताइए व्हाट आर द रीजंस. टेक्नोलॉजिकल, प्रोसेसिंग कम है, वेस्टेज ज़्यादा है. देन गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज़, ठीक है, माइनिंग पॉलिसी, ऑक्शन पॉलिसी. ओके, बहुत सारा कोल स्कैम हुआ, आयरन स्कैम हुआ. देन ट्राइबल इश्यूज, लैंड मैनेजमेंट, लैंड अवेलेबिलिटी कम है, डिस्प्लेसमेंट, ह्यूमन डिस्प्लेसमेंट. देन some of the minerals are low grade. For example, coal. India's coal is of slightly lower grade. उसका क्वालिटी कम है, डिमांड कम है. और environmental issues. Okay, environmental issues बहुत ज़्यादा. The way we are doing the mining, that is causing environmental issues, that will gradually slow down the mining industry. Then clearance process, है ना, overall clearance process थोड़ा बहुत ज़्यादा streamlined नहीं है, red tapeism. All of this will reduce the efficiency and the productivity. ये सब तो यही तो एक ना. ठीक है, that is reasons. Do we need conclusion? Yes, we need conclusion here. Right? Because we are talking about the issues. Why it is not contributing? थोड़ा बहुत तो way forward दे दो. ऐसे ही आगे चलेगा या ठीक होगा तो कुछ तो बताओ. That is what is conclusion. What are the required measures to be taken? ठीक है, simple and direct question. So can you draw a map here? Is there a scope? गोंडवाना का मैप ड्रॉ कर दो, वो सबसे बढ़िया रहेगा. You can show other regions, साउथ अफ्रीका, साउथ अमेरिका, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, सारा मिला के सिंपल सा ड्रॉ कर दो. सारा एक ही पार्ट से आए हैं. माइनिंग मिनरल रिसोर्स तो बहुत रिच है, वहाँ पर ज़्यादा है, यहाँ पर कम है. हो गया. व्हाट माइनिंग इंडस्ट्री, माइनिंग का क्या सॉल्यूशन है, एक दो सॉल्यूशन लिखो. हो गया. वेदर इट इज़ द क्लियरेंस प्रोसेस or sustainable mining methods, you know, technological upgradation. This was one of the question asked in 2017 on mining only. This is which topic? ये कौन सा topic है? Mining, economic activity, right? Primary economic activity. Despite of adverse environmental impact, coal mining is still inevitable for development. Discuss. Paper 1 का ही question है. This is from paper 1 only, 2017. And you can see the context for this question is there was a change in the mining bill. Okay, mining act जो है MMRD act, उसमें change हुआ था. In that context this question has been asked. 2021. What are the environmental implications of reclamation of water bodies into urban areas? Explain its example. कहीं पे सुना है ये question? flooding of million cities. One of the main important cause behind the flooding of million cities is reclamation of water bodies in urban areas. जो भी water body है उसको हमने convert कर दिया, we are converting into habitation region, settlements. वही दूसरा आ गया, देखो direct question. These are the questions which have been asked on urban floods till now, including the latest 2020 जो अभी डिस्कस किया था. This was asked in 2020, 2021 ने दोबारा दूसरी तरीके से पूछ लिया. 2016 2 questions on urban flooding, 2018 again urban flooding. What are the environmental implications of reclamation of water bodies into urban land use? Introduce your answer with examples from the recent cities where a large number of water bodies are converted into the settlements. Okay, so I gave you the example of Bangalore. There were nearly 200 lakes. All of them were converted, occupied. Now they are left with 10, 15 lakes. Environmental implications. Because the question is directly talking, what are the environmental implications of such actions? What are the environmental implications? डायरेक्ट बताइए, फ्लड ज़्यादा हो जाएगा. It will increase the floods, reduces the water percolation, increases water scarcity, drought kind of conditions, right? And then reduces the vegetation. Vegetation को तो कम हो जाएगा, water scarcity कम हुआ तो then because of फोम इफेक्ट. हाँ, फोम जो यमुना में हम देखते हैं, दैट इज बिकॉज ऑफ द reduced water availability and higher level of pollutant accumulation. ठीक है. And we also see increased eutrophication in water bodies, creation of dead zones, creation of increased occurrence of invasive species. All of these are the environmental implication. We can write all of this. 10 marker question. Okay, जितना एक्स्ट्रा पॉइंट्स ले, मतलब जितना डायमेंशंस लेके आओगे उतना अच्छा रहेगा. You don't need to elaborate each of them. Do we need to write a conclusion? Yes, you need to write a conclusion. What is required steps here? Sustainable urban management. Simple है ना? Sustainable urban management. We need to reduce the conversion of water bodies into the settlements. We need to reclaim those which are already converted. है ना? तो ये सब चीजें लिख सकते हो, सिंपल है. यूज ऑफ कर सकते हैं. यू कैन रीड इन द कंक्लूजन. यस, बट हियर वी आर नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट द डिजास्टर, राइट? ठीक है, कर सकते हैं, बट प्रॉब्लम को डायरेक्टली एड्रेस करना है. द प्रॉब्लम इज वी आर रिक्लेमिंग देम, वी आर कन्वर्टिंग ऑल दिस वाटर बॉडीज, उसको रोकना है बस. दिस अनदर इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन विच वी सॉ. सो दिस वाज फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम दिस ऐसे डायरेक्टली क्वेश्चन आ गया कि रीसेंट वॉल्केनिक इरप्शंस के ऊपर. Mention the global occurrence of volcanic eruptions in 2021 and their impact on regional environment. Luckily, we had covered this in our mapping class. So, what are the important volcanic eruptions of that year? Okay, previous 2-3 साल का cover कर लिया था, तो luckily आ गया. And this is also a hint that it is not only the volcanic eruption, we have to see other disasters which are happening in the recent times, and we need to remember them. Because in disaster management, when I covered the session in disaster management, we had seen that the question was on the recent earthquakes. Recent earthquakes India में कौन कौन सा हुआ है वो बताओ, ऐसे लिस्ट था. So now it is about the volcanic eruption. We need to remember all these recent incidents of disasters. So you can start with what is volcanic eruption, a brief idea how exactly what causes the volcanic eruption, what is the reason behind this, the generation of magma, the subduction or hot spots. ठीक है. And recent examples of global occurrence of एरप्शन 2021 में ये सारा हुआ था, एटलीस्ट 3-4 तो मेंशन होना ही चाहिए. ठीक है, मेंशन द ग्लोबल अकरेंसेस एंड डेफिनेटली यू कैन ड्रॉ ए वर्ल्ड मैप हियर एंड शो फ्यू ऑफ देम जहाँ पर हुआ था. यू विल गेट 1 एक्स्ट्रा मार्क हियर. एंड देयर इम्पैक्ट ऑन द रीजनल एनवायरनमेंट. ये बताइए हाउ वॉल्केनिक एरप्शन कॉजेस एन इम्पैक्ट ऑन द रीजनल एनवायरनमेंट. वेजिटेशन लॉस, ठीक है, ड्यू टू द मैग्मा फ्लो. देन marine life in the surrounding region. Then pollution, air quality declines, pollution increases. Okay, it adds huge quantity of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. It increases the dust component, है ना, particulate matter. And then कैसे specifically कैसे? वो तो continuous process है. ठीक है, और एनी पॉजिटिव इफेक्ट्स? यहां पर तो नहीं दिया है पॉजिटिव होना चाहिए नेगेटिव होना चाहिए. पॉजिटिव भी हो सकता है. इट मे डिक्रीज द टेम्परेचर ऑल्सो. हाउ? इट विल रिड्यूस द इनकमिंग सोलर रेडिएशन फ्रॉम रीचिंग द अर्थ सरफेस, है ना. देन इट मे क्रिएट न्यू लैंड फॉर्म्स, है ना. volcanic mountains may get created. Then it may make the surrounding region more fertile by volcanic ash. It will increase the fertility. देखो इतना सारा मिलता है, जितना पॉइंट्स लेके आओगे उतना अच्छा रहे. Why is India considered a subcontinent? Elaborate your answer. Okay, basically simple है. What is subcontinent? Why it is India is subcontinent? ठीक है. What is subcontinent? Yes, it's a part of the continent which can be identified separately. It is recognized separately. It has a separate identity. The identity can be geographical identity, political identity, cultural identity, social identity, economic identity, कुछ भी हो सकता है. It is recognized separately. For example, the entire Indian subcontinent. Indian subcontinent includes the countries of South Asia. There is a separate identity for this. यहाँ पर तो सारा कारण मिल जाएगा आपको. Geographically this is separate. Okay, so why it is called? Reasons बताइए. Geographically it is separated by the mountains. Okay, here we have the mountains, Himalayas. Here we have Himalayas, Hindu Kush mountains, Arakan-Yoma. Towards the south we have the Indian Ocean. Geographically separate. Historically separate. This entire part was ruled together as a single region. Whether it is the Mauryan times or the Mughal times or the British time, it was ruled together. There is a common cultural practice. The festivals are common. Food practices are common. Okay, the clothing style is common. The climatic conditions are common. Overall, they are all under the influence of monsoon. So बहुत सारा कारण मिल जाएगा. सारा अलग अलग लिखो. Political factors भी है. There is a single political entity, that is South Asia. We have a common organization, SAARC. That is why it is Indian subcontinent. Simple and direct. Only thing you should know the definition of subcontinent. फिर लिख सकते हो. Briefly mention the alignment of major mountain ranges of the world and explain their impact on the local weather conditions with example. An interesting question again. So read this question. Why are the world's fold mountain systems are located along the margins of continents? Bring out the association between the global distribution of fold mountains and earthquakes and volcanoes. Almost same topic है about the location of mountains, right? This was asked in 2014 and that is 2021. So can you draw a map? Definitely. Can draw a map, world map. इंट्रोडक्शन, डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ माउंटेन रेंजेस एंड द टाइप्स. ओके, माउंटेन रेंज क्या होता है, टाइप्स क्या है, सिंपल सा ब्रीफली लिखो. अलाइनमेंट ऑफ माउंटेन रेंज, बिकॉज द फर्स्ट पार्ट सेज ब्रीफली मेंशन द अलाइनमेंट ऑफ माउंटेन रेंजेस ऑफ द वर्ल्ड. कैसे अलाइन हुआ है वो बताइए. ओके, टेल अस हाउ एग्जैक्टली इट इज अलाइंड. Most of the mountain ranges are aligned either north, south, east, west or in terms of clusters. Example of north-south alignment: Rockies, Andes, Appalachian, Ural Mountains, as well as Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, Himalayas. ठीक है, Himalayas ईस्ट वेस्ट मान लो. ईस्ट वेस्ट अलाइनमेंट एल्प्स हो गया, हिमालयस हो गया, कॉकसस हो गया, अटलस माउंटेन्स हो गया. आर देयर एनी क्लस्टर्स? यस, इफ यू सी द पामीर क्लस्टर. So we have cluster of mountains, Himalayas, Karakoram, okay, so and then Hindu Kush, Tian Shan, सारा एक cluster में आ जाएगा. Here it is Armenian cluster, Caucasus Mountain, Zagros Mountain, Taurus Mountain, Elburz Mountain. This is north-south Great Dividing Range. This is north-south Andes. This is north-south Rockies, Appalachian Mountains. You just have to show them the overall alignment. तो अलाइनमेंट हो गया. एक्सप्लेन देयर इम्पैक्ट ऑन द लोकल वेदर कंडीशन. दिस इज बहुत सारा लिख सकते हैं ये वाला पॉइंट. तो हाउ द लोकेशन ऑफ माउंटेन्स इम्पैक्ट द लोकल वेदर कंडीशंस. व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट वेज? इट कॉजेज द ओरोग्राफिक रेनफॉल ऑन द वेस्टर्न साइड और वन ऑफ द साइड, जो भी जिस साइड में भी विंड्स आ रहे हैं. इट कॉजेज ओरोग्राफिक रेनफॉल ऑन वन साइड एंड रेन शैडो ऑन अनदर साइड. Example: Western Ghats, western side of Western Ghats, eastern side of Western Ghats. Himalayas, the southern slopes and the northern slopes. Rain shadow effect, or it will impact the local winds. For example, Rockies. Okay, the winds which are coming from the west will start to descend down. It results in the formation of Chinook winds, which causes the melting of ice, snow eater. Right? Same is with the Alps. Fawn winds moving towards the north. ठीक है. अदर देन दैट, yes, yes, some of the mountains being tall in nature contains a good number of glaciers and they are sources of water. For example, Himalayas. Then they will also block the winds, sometimes protects the regions from the cold winds. So example, Himalayas, Central Asian cold wind से protect करता है. It will also be helpful in the formation of precipitation. For example, monsoon winds. Monsoon formation is totally influenced by the presence of Himalayas, right? And then sometimes you will see snowfall in desert areas. Example, Sahara. Sahara में desert area में snowfall होता है. क्यों? Because the winds which are coming from the Atlantic Ocean rises along the Atlas Mountains. And that causes precipitation over there, जिसकी वजह से यहाँ पर थोड़ा सा स्नोफॉल होता है. Then there is a huge potential for नहीं वो तो मैंगो शवर्स तो नहीं, वो तो मानसून का ही आएगा. हाँ, वेजिटेशन बात कर सकते हैं. वेजिटेशन विल डिसाइड, वेजिटेशन विल बी टोटली इम्पैक्टेड. ठीक है, काफ़ी है. हाँ नहीं, टूरिज्म नहीं, क्योंकि इट इज टॉकिंग ओनली ऑन द इम्पैक्ट ऑन द लोकल वेदर कंडीशंस. ओके, लोकल वेदर कंडीशन का ही इम्पैक्ट बताना है. हाउ डू द मेल्टिंग ऑफ आर्कटिक आइस एंड ग्लेशियर्स ऑफ अंटार्कटिक differently affect the weather patterns and human activities on the earth? Here the trickier part is what exactly you are differentiating. The differentiation is not between the Arctic and Antarctic. The differentiation is between the weather pattern and human activities. ठीक है. How the melting, this entire process, melting of Arctic and the glaciers of Antarctica, how it is going to impact द वेदर पैटर्न एंड द ह्यूमन एक्टिविटीज डिफरेंटली, कैसे इसको अलग अलग सा इंपैक्ट करेगा. ओके, सो वेदर पैटर्न एंड ह्यूमन एक्टिविटीज. इंट्रोडक्शन, the melting of ice, you can give the context of IPCC AR6. Totally it is talking about the melting of glaciers, polar ice caps. You can give the context here. And then impact of melting of these ice caps and glaciers on weather. Totally conceptual part related to climatology. बताइए, how exactly it will impact the weather conditions? Ocean circulation, definitely right. It will impact the ocean circulation because of the variation in the salinity pattern. Then polar vortex, it will weaken the polar vortex, causes extreme cold conditions in the lower latitudes, the way it happens in North America. Then ठीक है, and वेदर पैटर्न के ऊपर डायरेक्टली बताइए, हाउ मेल्टिंग ऑफ द पोलर आइस कैप्स विल इंपैक्ट द वेदर पैटर्न. डेफिनेटली क्लाउड फॉर्मेशन विल बी इंपैक्टेड. देन reducing the albedo will cause faster rise in the temperature. ठीक है, then ठीक है, how it will impact the human activities. New channels of transportation, है ना. So melting of glaciers, melting of ice caps near to the Arctic Ocean has opened new sea lines, है ना. Then increase the anthropogenic emissions also, right. Then how it will affect the human activities, it will impact the agriculture, right. So melting of glaciers, how it will impact the agriculture, बताइए. Most of the fertile land are located near to the coastal areas, right. We have coastal plains, most fertile land. Because of the rise, melting of the global ice caps, the sea level is definitely going to rise and it will consume most of the fertile land near to the coastal areas. All our economic activities near to the coastal area is going to get impacted, whether it is industrial location or agricultural location, ठीक है. और ठीक है, tourism activities along the coastal areas will be impacted, right. The coral reefs, the coral tourism will get impacted, right. And exploration of oil and gas will get impacted. In some of the regions it will increase because of the melting of ice. For example, Arctic Ocean, Russia is going to get benefit to a great extent because it will extract, it has access to now huge amount of oil and gas. पहले तो पूरा frozen हो रहा था, now it is open, right. Both positives and negatives you can write. Conclusion is a must because this is totally about the problem. You can tell how we want to solve this issue. So same question, how does the cryosphere affect the global climate? 2017, ठीक है. So cryosphere is the same, global polar areas, the ice caps. Discuss the multidimensional implication of uneven distribution of mineral oil in the world. Another interesting question. बताइए. Basically, the mineral oil, that is petroleum, is distributed in a very uneven manner across the world. It is not distributed uniformly. In some regions it is more, in some regions it is less. You can write that in the introduction itself. Because the question is not about the uneven distribution. The question is about the multi-dimensional implication of uneven distribution. You can start with uneven distribution and draw a world map and show how exactly it is unevenly distributed. कहाँ कहाँ पर ज़्यादा है, कहाँ कहाँ पर कम है, तो वो दिखा दो, हो गया. मेजर एरियाज मार्क कर दो, वेस्ट एशिया, Gulf of Mexico, Northern Africa, North Sea, and some parts of Southeast Asia. Around Caspian Sea. Okay? That is the first part. Implications, we have political implication, economic implication, social implication, environmental implication. Uneven distribution के वजह से क्या क्या implication है बताइए? What are the political implications? It influences the international relations totally, increases the internal conflicts. In many of the places, the internal rebellion is driven by this petroleum and gas, the North African countries. Right? The political setup is totally influenced by these rich mineral resources, the mineral oil resources. And we also see that there is a weak institutional structure in most of these countries. They depend upon few resources. There is a weak institutional structure. Economic, Dutch disease. What is Dutch disease? Dependency on one product. Best example is Venezuela. Venezuela was too much dependent upon oil. It totally collapsed. And then what are the other economic impacts? Skewed economic development. Right? And then for these areas wherever there is this petroleum resources, you need better infrastructure. ज़्यादा वहीं पे डेवलपमेंट होगा, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट, दूसरी जगह में कम होगा. Then environmental impacts. In those areas we will see huge environmental issues. Best example, the Gulf of Mexico oil spill, which caused huge destruction. And the extraction of oil in a continuous manner makes the entire land area weaker. Okay, because of the well activity, drilling activity. Okay, land weaker होगा, collapse होने का chances होता है. Then it will disturb the marine ecosystem. Okay, seismic disturbance will also happen. ठीक है, और ये सब यूनिफॉर्मली डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हुआ तो नहीं होता, कुछ ही जगह में है, ज़्यादा वहाँ पर फोकस है, तो इसी के ऊपर ज़्यादा काम चलता है, इसकी वजह से ये सारे इश्यूज है. सोशल इम्पैक्ट, social impact, migration of people. Okay, migration of people, and then disparity, inequality in different sections, right? And in most of these countries we see prevalence of patriarchy, right? So there's not much of women empowerment, they are not given much role in the economy. Most of the Arab countries, the West Asian countries, right? Norway? Yes, economic में include कर सकते हो, positives. Migration, है ना, migration is directed towards one particular place, एक ही जगह से directed है. Most of the West Asian migration is driven by oil, right? What are the main socio-economic implications arising out of development of IT industries in major cities of India? बताइए. Introduction क्या लिखेंगे? This is a question which is a mix of both geography as well as society. Introduction क्या लिखेंगे? Introduction में आप बात करेंगे important IT hubs of India. ठीक है, कहाँ कहाँ पर डेवलपमेंट हुआ है उसके बारे में बात करेंगे. ठीक है, and what are the reasons behind this? Why few of the IT hubs are concentrated in few particular regions only? Introduction में बताओ. You can definitely draw a simple India map and show the important IT hubs, important IT cities. Then directly come to implications. What kind of implications? Socio-economic implications. What are the economic implications? Yes, major part of GDP comes from that particular sector, but however this provides very low employment opportunity. Economic भी है, social भी है, ठीक है, और too much depend upon the other country, because most of the IT industry, they are all depend upon the exports. ओके तो वहां पर कोई इंपैक्ट हो गया, वहां पर इकोनॉमिक स्लोडाउन हो गया, यहां पर इंपैक्ट हो जाएगा, है ना. इट इज टू मच डिपेंड अपॉन देयर इकोनॉमी, सो दैट विल interlink Indian economy to the global economy, and any kind of shocks at the global level will definitely impact this. हमारा इतना ज़्यादा GDP इससे रिलेटेड हो गया है, तो कहीं पे भी दुनिया में IT इंडस्ट्री कोलैप्स हो गया, यहाँ का IT इंडस्ट्री कोलैप्स हो जाएगा, फिर इंडियन इकोनॉमी कोलैप्स हो जाएगा, राइट. देन IT इंडस्ट्री डज नॉट इन्वॉल्व. ठीक है, तो बताइए फ्यू सिटीज में ये कॉन्सेंट्रेट होने का कुछ इंपैक्ट है. अनप्लान्ड अर्बनाइजेशन, बैंगलोर का अनप्लान्ड अर्बनाइजेशन इज टोटली इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय दिस ओनली. IT हब्स, सडन ग्रोथ, फिर उसका पूरा इम्प्लीकेशन सारा लिख सकते हो इधर. ठीक है, अनप्लान्ड अर्बनाइजेशन का. और सोशल माइग्रेशन. ओके, सो पर्टिकुलरली वी कैन ऑल्सो इंक्लूड द फैक्टर ऑफ ब्रेन ड्रेन, right. Then specialized division of labor, good. Then IITs तो ऊपर भी है, ठीक है, तो वो तो हाँ एग्लोमरेशन हब्स बनेगा, ठीक है. देन ठीक है, तो ओवरऑल आइडिया तो यही है, यही लिखना है. सोशियो इकोनॉमिक इम्प्लीकेशन एंड प्लीज राइट द कंक्लूजन, जरूरी है. दैट इज अबाउट 2021. सो लेट्स ब्रीफली कवर 2022 क्वेश्चंस. So one important change I observed in 2022 questions is that many of these 2022 questions are totally direct, static and basic. Static है, basic है. That made this geography part very scoring. Okay, for example this question, describe the characteristics and types of primary rocks. ये तो simple है, direct है, totally NCERT से आंसर आ जाएगा. As it is, you properly describe this, you will get 7 out of 10. ठीक है, ये तो डायरेक्टली आ गया था हमारे क्लास से, हम तो डिटेल में डिस्कस करते हैं इसका. व्हाट इज अ प्राइमरी रॉक? इग्नियस रॉक. ओके, सो इंट्रोड्यूस द डिफरेंट, व्हाट इट डिफाइन रॉक, डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ रॉक्स, देन डायरेक्टली कम टू प्राइमरी रॉक. प्राइमरी रॉक इज अ इग्नियस रॉक. इग्नियस रॉक is formed by the cooling down of magma. So now depending upon where exactly it cools down, we have intrusive igneous rock, extrusive igneous rock. The magma cools down below the surface, intrusive igneous rocks, magma cools down above the surface, extrusive igneous rock. Now talk about the characteristics. The rate of cooling will decide the strength of the rock. Slow cooling, harder; fast cooling, low strength. Slow cooling, larger crystal; fast cooling, glassy texture. है ना? ये सब चीजें डिस्क्राइब करते जाओ, राइट? तो प्रॉपरली डिफाइन भी कर सकते हो. Different types of primary rocks can also be there. They can also classify using acidic rock, basic rock, depending upon the proportion of silica. Right? So simple and direct question, static part, very scoring. Characteristics of primary rocks तो आप बता सकते हो, है ना? Absence of layers, strata कम होता है, fossils नहीं रहता है, right? Example तो बिल्कुल जरूरी है. Discuss the meaning of color-coded weather warning for cyclone-prone areas given by Indian Meteorological Department. This is totally from current affairs. इतने 3 साल में एक करंट अफेयर्स मिल गया हमें, तो डायरेक्टली करंट अफेयर्स से ही था, क्योंकि पिछले साल ऐसे बहुत ज़्यादा कलर-कोडेड वार्निंग इश्यू हुआ था फॉर द साइक्लोन्स. IMD uses 4 different colors for cyclone warning. It is in fact not only for cyclone warning, every type of weather-related phenomena is use the same color coding. ठीक है, 4 color coded: green, yellow, amber and red. Amber is basically orange. Okay, in India we call it as orange. Green is no warning. Okay, green is no warning. Yellow is be aware. Orange is be prepared. Red is take action. How exactly it uses? It makes a matrix. Okay, देखो, just for example, there are 3 places and different days. On the first day, all the 3 places there is green. On the second day, all the 3 places there is yellow. On third day, 1 red, 2 yellow. That means the cyclone is heading towards this place. This is peripheral area. Next day, this is still red. यहाँ पर green हो गया क्योंकि cyclone उस तरफ चला गया पूरा. This is what is color coded warning. This is how they use. Based on the color coded, whatever the reason in which whatever the color has been issued, so the people have to take precaution accordingly. What are the precaution? यहाँ पर तो दिया है color coded. ठीक है? So you can introduce your answer with what are tropical cyclones and what are the different color codes, the meaning of different color codes and how it is used. ठीक है? Discuss the meaning of different color code 1. ये तो हो गया, conclusion लिखो. Right? So this was directly from current affairs. Okay, this was from May 2021. And these are the questions on tropical cyclones which have been asked till now. Okay, naming of tropical cyclone already has come and the conditions required for tropical cyclone. This time slightly in detail from the current affairs. Discuss the natural resource potential of Deccan Trap. Tricky लगता है, but ज़्यादा तो issue नहीं है इसमें. First of all, you should know the difference between Deccan Traps and Deccan Plateau. Is there any difference? Deccan Plateau is the entire plateau area which has been existing for millions of years. Over a long period of time it has been existing. What is Deccan Traps? It is part of the Deccan Plateau where the basaltic magma erupted around 60 to 70 million years ago. When the Indian plate was moving towards the Eurasian plate, in between it encountered reunion hotspot. During that, it resulted in the eruption of basaltic magma. ये जो green color में highlight हुआ है, this is what is Deccan Traps. We can clearly identify this using the regions of black soil. The regions of black soil. All of this you will write only in the introduction. You can draw a map and show the regions of Deccan Traps, but that is not the question. The question is about the natural resource potential. Here comes the tricky part. Because in Deccan Traps there are not much of mineral resources. And luckily they are not asking mineral resource, they are asking natural resource. So what are the natural resource potential of Deccan Traps? First one, black soil. Right? Natural resource में सब कुछ include कर सकते हो. It is not only mineral resource, it is all the types of resources. Black soil derived from the Deccan Traps used for sugarcane cultivation, maize cultivation, tobacco cultivation, okay, oil seed cultivation, सारा आ जाएगा इसमें, black soil. Then फिर यहाँ पर points खत्म हो जाते हैं. स्पेसिफिकली डेक्कन ट्रैप्स के वजह से क्या नेचुरल रिसोर्स आए हैं? Yes. Deccan Traps has resulted in the formation of step-like topography, and we have various rivers originating from Western Ghats that results in the formation of various waterfalls. It brings higher hydrothermal energy potential as well as thermal springs. Thermal springs भी Deccan Traps की वजह से आए हैं. Okay, we have geothermal energy and hydropower potential, दोनों हैं. Then hot spring is वही geothermal हो गया. Then Deccan Traps also brings higher groundwater potential. Because of black soil, highly porous in nature, it acts as good aquifers. It is capable of storing good amount of groundwater. There is a potential, कम है but potential है. If we are able to store the water, we will be able to use it. And it can be usually used for tank irrigation. Tank irrigation अच्छे से यहाँ पर develop कर सकते हैं. ठीक है? और wind energy, because of the Deccan Traps, elevation थोड़ा बहुत ऊपर चला गया तो wind energy higher potential है. ठीक है? But you have to be very careful not to bring those resources which are not related to Deccan traps. यहाँ पर अननेसरी नहीं लेके आना है, ठीक है. दूसरा कोल वगैरह तो यहाँ पर मत लेके आओ. डेक्कन ट्रैप्स की वजह से कोल बिल्कुल नहीं है, कोई भी मेटालिक मिनरल्स नहीं है. Even in Vindhyas, even though we have limestone deposition, that is not related to Deccan traps, that is related to Vindhyan formations, Vindhyan rock formations है, वो अलग है. So remember we had discussed about the solar energy, same pattern wind energy. Okay, so same pattern. देखो, India has immense potential for solar energy, though there are regional variations in its development. Examine the potential of wind energy and explain the reasons for their limited spatial spread. As it is, wind energy में आ गया solar energy से. And wind energy has been a focus in that year, you can see. Introduce the overall wind energy, about wind energy, types of wind energy, offshore wind energy, onshore wind energy, briefly introduce कर दो. Then we have the potential of India in wind energy. What is the overall potential of India in wind energy? The present capacity is 40 gigawatts. Okay, 40 gigawatts, it accounts for 10% of total installed capacity of total energy production. India is fourth in terms of the wind energy production in the world, right? What about potential? कितना potential है? There is a huge potential for both offshore as well as onshore. Onshore wind energy production can go up to 700 gigawatts. 700 gigawatts can be generated from offshore. Sorry, onshore. Offshore, it goes up to 120 to 150 gigawatts offshore. Offshore कहाँ पर है? Continental shelf, away from the coast, right? There is a huge potential. And what are the states in which there is a good amount of potential? Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra. Okay, these are the regions with very high potential for wind energy. How do you define the potential? The wind speed and the density of wind also. Why we have higher potential near to the coastal areas? The air is very dense. Higher the density of air, higher the potential to run the turbines. As you go into the higher elevation, why we are not talking about Himalayan states? वहाँ पर तो ज़्यादा हवा होता है. The wind is very light. It is less dense. Right? So density तो it depends upon the local conditions. And we have a huge coastal area, 7,500 kilometers of coastal area है, हर जगह में हम लगा सकते हो. There is a high potential for that. So what are the reasons for limited spread? राजस्थान में यही मेजर इशू है. इट विल डिस्टर्ब द लोकल इकोसिस्टम. ठीक है. इट रिक्वायर्स अ लार्ज एरिया ऑफ लैंड एक्वेशन चाहिए, हाई कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट भी चाहिए. ऑफशोर विंड, इवन दो देयर इज अ हायर पोटेंशियल, द कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट भी हायर. ओके, हायर मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट, हायर इंस्टॉलमेंट कॉस्ट ऑल्सो. ठीक है. एंड देन द क्वालिटी ऑफ विंड इज नॉट यूनिफॉर्म एवरीवेयर. हर जगह में यूनिफॉर्म नहीं होगा. देयर इज अ ह्यूज वेरिएशन फ्रॉम कोस्टल टू इंटीरियर. एंड देन द मेथड ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट ऑक्शनिंग एंड द टैरिफ प्राइसिंग, ये सब चीज़ें भी डिफाइन करता है. ठीक है. तो इसकी वजह से देयर इज अ ह्यूज डिस्पैरिटी. दिस इज द इंस्टॉल्ड कैपेसिटी. ज़्यादा डेवलपमेंट नहीं हुआ है. देयर इज अ पोटेंशियल बट ज़्यादा डेवलपमेंट नहीं हुआ है. दिस इज द इंस्टॉल्ड कैपेसिटी. ये तो प्रॉपर डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन है. देखिए, installed capacity depends upon the government initiative also, private initiative also. Potential तो जितना maximum कर सकते हैं, that is potential. देखिए, 2 बार डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन आ चुका है, तीसरी बार भी डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन नहीं है. This was 2015. Explain the factors responsible for the origin of ocean currents. How do they influence the regional climate, fishing and navigation? As it is. What are the forces that influence the ocean currents? Describe the role in fishing industry of the world. यहाँ पर fishing के साथ में navigation, regional climate भी था. यहाँ पर खाली fishing पूछ लिया. First part तो same ही है as it is. Second देखो 2019. How do the ocean currents and water masses different in their impact on marine impact and the coastal environment? मतलब थोड़ा बहुत related है. How exactly it impacts the marine life? Here it is directly on the fishing sector. So first introduce your answer with what are ocean currents. The general circulation of water within the ocean. Okay, both the upper level surface currents as well as the bottom, the deep ocean currents. What are the factors influencing ocean currents? Wind, most primary factor. The movement of winds will cause the water to move in a particular direction. Okay, for example, the trade wind pushes the water from east to west. The westerlies cause the water to move from west to east. The generation of the current, the movement of the water generated by the winds then will take the other direction depending upon the other factors like the overall orientation of the coastline, okay, Coriolis effect and the ocean bottom topography, the depth of the water. All of these factors will give a proper direction to these ocean currents. How exactly it influences the fishing industry? Wherever there is a merging of warm and cold ocean currents, you will see a very high potential for the fishing bank. Example देना बहुत ज़रूरी है and world map भी होना चाहिए. There you can clearly show the important ocean currents. Okay, so like Gulf Stream merging with the Labrador current, we have one of the largest fishing bank here, the Grand Bank, Dogger Bank, है ना? Grand Bank and Georges Bank. Here the Atlantic, North Atlantic drift moving towards the cold water, we have Dogger Bank. The North Sea, the entire area is one of the largest fishing banks. In other areas, the cold ocean currents causes upwelling. The upwelling brings the nutrients from the bottom and that supports large scale fishing growth. Peru. Then the general circulation of ocean currents from one part of the world to another part helps in the distribution of nutrients, which decides the availability of phytoplanktons. Phytoplanktons will decide the availability of fish. The distribution of the characteristics of water, the salinity, temperature, of course that will also influence the growth of fish. That is totally influenced by the ocean currents. ये तो 7 out of 10 वाला है. अच्छा ये तो 15 मार्कर है. 15 मार्कर में हम अच्छे से like you can score minimum of 10. Very easy and very direct. You can draw a map, you can talk about the factors, you can also show the various areas of fishing. Rubber industry. This is a kind of bouncer. Describing the distribution of rubber producing country, indicate the major environmental issues faced by them. Second half is general, है ना? So rubber production के वजह से rubber production कहाँ पर होगा बताइए? एक जनरल आइडिया है तो बात कर सकते हैं इसके बारे में. Most of the tropical countries, okay, equatorial rainforest, tropical countries जहाँ पर भी है. Originally आया था ब्राज़ील से. Majorly they are located in Southeast Asia. Rubber plantations. इतना आइडिया है तो काफी है, पूरा आंसर लिख सकते हो. Distribution of rubber producing countries. World map and show the important countries. What are the countries? Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand. Then India also, India. ठीक है, slightly. Then Brazil. ठीक है, and then China also. China भी है. These are the major producers, natural producers, and there is also artificial producers also. क्योंकि क्वेश्चन में तो नहीं पूछा है कौन सा नेचुरल है आर्टिफिशियल है. It is just talking about the rubber, right? India is also one of the largest producer of artificial rubber. And China is also one of the largest producer of artificial rubber. We have USA, Russia, South Korea, Japan. These are all the distribution. Indicate the major environmental issues faced by these rubber producing countries. बताइए, what are the major issues faced by rubber producing countries? Most of these are located in the tropical regions. To develop rubber plantation, you have to cut down the rainforests, not just forests, rainforests. It releases huge quantity of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Okay, soil carbon is disturbed, vegetation, the biodiversity is disturbed, soil erosion increases. ठीक है, इंडस्ट्री आर्टिफिशियल रबर प्रोडक्शन की वजह से वाटर पोल्यूशन इंक्रीज होगा. ठीक है, केमिकल्स बहुत ज़्यादा रिलीज होते हैं. और ठीक है, यही होगा. तो कार्बन सेक्वेस्ट्रेशन डिस्टर्ब हो गया. डायरेक्टली बात करता है, काफी है. ये तो बहुत इजी है. You just have to know straits and isthmus. What is a strait? Strait is a narrow passage of water which connects two bigger water bodies. What is isthmus? Narrow passage of land which connects two bigger land area. Strait का opposite है. Mention the significance of straits and isthmus in international trade. Start with the definition of isthmus and trade. Just we discussed this. एक सिंपल सा फिगर लिखना है. यहाँ पर तो फिगर तो लिख सकते हो. सिग्निफिकेंस में वर्ल्ड मैप ड्रॉ करके इंपॉर्टेंट स्ट्रेट्स, इंपॉर्टेंट isthmus, हाउ दे आर हेल्पफुल इन कनेक्शन एज वेल एज डिस्ट्रप्शन. They help in connection. Yes, they help in the trade. For example, Isthmus of Panama helps in better connection between the eastern and western parts of North America. It reduces the distance by almost half. हाफ से ज्यादा कम कर देता है. ठीक है, it helps over there. Second, Isthmus of Suez. Where is Isthmus of Suez? Suez Canal जहां पर हमने बनाया, that is on Isthmus. It reduces the distance to a very great extent. ठीक है, बेनिफिट्स तो लिख सकते हो. नुकसान क्या है? They also become choke points. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, एक शिप अटक गया था सुएज कैनल में, जिसकी वजह से पूरा ट्रेड खतरे में आ गया. राइट, सो देयर इज इश्यूज. दे कैन डिस्टॉर्ट द ग्लोबल ट्रेड. स्मॉल वेरिएशन कैन एंटायरली डिसरप्ट द ग्लोबल सप्लाई चेन. इंडस्ट्री का इंपैक्ट हो सकता है, इकोनॉमी का इंपैक्ट हो सकता है. ओके, डॉलर रेट ऊपर नीचे हो सकता है ना. तो ऑल ऑफ दिस यू कैन कनेक्ट हियर, द इंपॉर्टेंट सिग्निफिकेंस. And here the thing is, you have to give the examples of important straits and isthmus and specifically say how it is playing the role. And you can definitely draw a world map and show that. Troposphere is a very significant atmospheric layer that determines weather processes house. I was very happy seeing this question. बताइए, finally एक अच्छा सा climatology question आ गया. पूरा climatology यहाँ पर लिख सकते हो आप. Start with the introduction. What is the troposphere? We are talking about the troposphere. What is troposphere? Lowermost layer, yeah. It's the lowermost layer of the Earth atmosphere. It plays a very significant role in the atmospheric layer that determines the weather processes. What are the weather processes which are determined by the troposphere? The cloud formation, precipitation, condensation, jet streams, okay, planetary winds, air masses, interaction of air masses, tropical cyclones, temperate cyclones. देखो इतना सारा process है. What are the factors of troposphere which determine the weather process? ये थोड़ा सा tricky हो जाएगा. You are not expected to write what are the weather processes. You also have to explain what are the processes of troposphere which helps in the weather process. What are the processes which are active in the troposphere? Convection, condensation, है ना, और temperature decrease. With increase in altitude, temperature decreases. That is responsible for cloud formation. That is responsible for condensation. Then yes, presence of hygroscopic nuclei, presence of water vapor, फॉर्मेशन ऑफ फ्रेंड्स. यस, वही है. सब लिख सकते हो और बहुत सारा कहानी लिख सकते हो इसमें. तो दिस इज ए प्रॉपर एग्जांपल ऑफ स्टैटिक एंड डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन. स्टैटिक है, डायरेक्ट है और टोटली बेसिक है. यू कैन स्कोर 10 आउट ऑफ 15 हियर अगेन. ओके, एक बार ऐसे क्वेश्चन आया था टेम्परेचर इन्वर्जन के बारे में. So this was also again a direct question. ठीक है. So overall you can see that geography is very very scoring if you can concentrate your efforts. So many of the students struggle in scoring in paper 1. So उनका usually geography weak रहता है, या they have not concentrated or they have not analyzed the previous papers. You analyze the previous papers, you get a very good amount of information how to approach these geography questions. So I hope our analysis has been very helpful in coming to a conclusion and how to approach this. So if you have any more doubts, you can write to me here. Okay? So I wish you all the best to those who are writing this here. So please make use of the time more efficiently and practice more answers. आप जितना आंसर लिखोगे उतना फायदा रहेगा, है ना. ये सब तो हम बोलते हैं, सब लोग बोलते हैं, तो लोग करते कम हैं. So please do this. It will be very very helpful for you. ठीक है? चलो, thank you.